All righty. I will now reconvene the meeting of the Williamsburg James City County School Board. May I have a member certify closed session, please?
Madam Chair, I certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, the Williamsburg James City County School Board, while in closed session, discussed only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements as stated in Virginia law, and that only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you, Mrs. Chen. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunley. Mrs. Aller?
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye. We will now move to the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Hosang. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunley. Mrs. Aller?
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye. We will now move on to item 4.01, announcements in the superintendent's report. Dr. Kiefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the board and members of the community who may be streaming this meeting on Cinco de Mayo. As we continue to talk about workforce development and helping our young people understand career pathways, we wanted to start today by acknowledging Health Career Days at Riverside, which took place last month. High school students gained firsthand insight into careers in healthcare. Students connected with medical professionals and explored the emergency department, surgery, intensive care unit, and EMT services at Riverside. I want to give special thanks to both Centera and Riverside, who offered Health Career Day opportunities to our students this year. We would love to have even more. So thank you to both of those healthcare providers. On Friday, April 24th, we welcome more than 800 people to War Hill High School for Kindergarten Registration Family Fest. Families enjoyed the Virginia Living Museum, Mini Museum, the Williamsburg Regional Library Bookmobile, food trucks, face painting. What's not in the script is the fact that there was a fire engine with a hose that allowed for students to be able to participate in putting out fires. There was face painting, and most importantly, the families and students completed steps to register their rising kindergarten student for school in the fall. Many thanks to our community partners for helping kick off our rising kindergartners' students' school careers. It was a great, great event. Loved it. And finally, this week, we are honoring the educators across Williamsburg, James City County Public Schools. I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our teachers. I see firsthand that they go above and beyond every day to ensure our students are nurtured and pushed to reach their greatest potential. They serve our community, they support one another, and they create learning experiences for our students. 1 week simply isn't enough to share our appreciation and highlight how the impact that our teachers have every day. So my recommendation is that each day we thank a teacher, but especially thank a teacher during Teacher Appreciation Week. Madam Chair, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kiefer. Mr. Hosang.
Yes, Madam Chair. We had a safety committee meeting last week, and I just want to first thank and recognize Brian Weaver for all the work that he's done. He just very quickly summarized all the lockdowns, all the safety drills that he has run through all of our school division throughout the year. So I just want to give him kudos for all the work that he's done and his committee has done. Again, like they completed several lockdowns recently, and what some of this is doing is some of the students wanted to have the lockdowns at different times during the day, so they would get a little different experience. And what that led to them seeing is that the students were unfamiliar, the employees are unfamiliar with exactly what to do at that time. So initially when it took them 3 minutes to get to where they needed to go, they then practiced and rehearsed a little bit and got it down to about just over a minute. So, I mean, again, it was a great experience for the teachers and the staff and the students to understand what they need to do during the lockdowns drills. They completed many arrival screenings at high schools and middle schools, and just ensuring that the schools are safe and the students, the bus drop-off, parent drop-off, they're doing the arrival screenings. They're also doing it for the student drivers at high schools. It was just a good experience to get that done. They've also started having security at middle school events, sporting events, plays, performances. And they wanted wanted the public to remember that there are no bags that can be brought into the facilities.
Yes.
So just be mindful of that if you're going to any plays or performances coming up. There will be a reunification exercise this summer, and so we're going to be working on that. And that's it. Once we have, if knock on wood, we have an event at one of our schools that will be able to reunify the students with their families at an off-site location, and so we'll be working on that. We had a presentation by the transportation office, and they talked about the stop arm cameras on the buses, and they said that this year, it was last week, as of last week, we've had 625 less citations this year than last year. However, we had almost 1,600 violations this year, up to last week, and the issue with that is when the arms go out, it goes from a yellow light to a red light, and they were explaining it's a little different than the stoplights, where if the yellow light, you have a little bit more time to quickly race past and get past that light. With the yellow and red lights for the school buses, that's not the issue, and the issue is we've got children that are near the buses that don't really fully understand those yellow lights and red lights, and so we're just asking the community to please be mindful of the buses when you see the lights or the stop signs start coming out. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I feel like we may have gone down, but those, I want to know, how much is the county getting for outside of our schools? Can we get a cut of that?
I can't comment on that right now, Madam Chair. I don't believe that is in the works. But it's all about safety.
It's all about safety. Well, wonderful. Well, it's good to hear that at least folks are slowing down, and yet we have 1,600 violations, so that's probably like 200 a month, which is pretty disappointing. Which means it's multiples
it's
per
probably
day.
about 10 a day
Yeah.
is what I quickly calculated at. So you're looking at least a violation or one almost at each school, or if you're looking in the neighborhoods. So
Yeah, and to our drills, I was at one of the elementary schools, and we've had a student who has moved from a place where they experienced more of a war-torn environment, and so when that bell went off, that child was very focused, stood at attention, and moved with purpose. And in contrast to our students, which are right excited and bouncing around and not really understanding the seriousness of what they could be. And for this principal, it was a really stark reminder of we're lucky where we are, that a lot of times they are just drills that we never actually have to put into practice. And so I think it's just so important that we remind the kids, like, one day you might have to put this into practice, and mixing it up on the timing. I think that's brilliant. So thank you, Mr. Hosang. Any other members have reports from the committees that they have attended? Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to 5.01, proposed agenda items. The first one is review of adoption recommendation for grade 4-5 science textbooks and instructional materials. Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Keever. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Keever. This afternoon, I will provide you with an overview of the science grades 4-5 textbook and instructional materials selection process and provide a recommendation from the selection committee. The adoption of instructional materials for 4th and 5th grade science aligns with key priority, academic achievement, college and career readiness, and educational equity in our strategic plan, Elevate to 28. Although the Board of Education did not revise the 2018 Elementary Science Standards of Learning, the need for high-quality instructional materials to support effective teaching and learning is essential. Adopting high-quality instructional materials is one of the most effective actions we can take to improve student outcomes. Standards-aligned, research-based materials ensure that all students, regardless of school or classroom, have access to rigorous, coherent instruction that builds deep conceptual understanding over time. High-quality resources also support teachers with clear guidance, reducing the burden of creating materials from scratch and allowing them to focus on meeting our students' needs. In Virginia, where the standards of learning emphasize scientific investigation, critical thinking, and real-world application, strong instructional materials provide the structure and content necessary to fully realize these goals. Ultimately, investing in high-quality materials promotes consistency, equity, and higher achievement across our division. The review and selection process began last fall and concluded in late April for the grades 4-5 science textbook. The 2 textbooks and instructional materials under consideration were available to the staff and community for a 9-week period between February and April. During that time, textbooks and links to digital resources were available in all 9 elementary schools. Staff were encouraged to use the materials as appropriate to support their current instruction in order to better assess textbook features and informally gather feedback from their students. At the same time, parents, guardians, and community members had access to the same materials in person at Central Support here at Central Office and through the digital links shared on the WJCC website. A committee representing a variety of stakeholders was created per School Board Regulation IIAAR to review the textbooks and other materials provided by each publisher. The committee was comprised of 27 individuals representing the school board, division staff, elementary administrators, 4th and 5th grade classroom teachers, special education, gifted, and LEAP teachers, and parents. Interest in committee membership was collected through administrator and coordinator recommendations and the Engage With Us process. I am appreciative of the work of the committee members and their colleagues, and I would like to thank Mr. Randy Riffle for serving on the committee as our school board representative. Committee members and the community were asked to evaluate the textbooks and instructional materials considering criteria identified in IIAAR, as well as the VDOE's textbook quality assurance criteria for the textbook approval process. The 4 criteria categories are content, such as graphics, organization, representation, and alignment to standards; resources, such as the teacher's manual and supplementary materials' ability to support remediation or extension of learning; services, format, access, and duration of professional learning that would be provided by the vendor to support implementation of the textbook and the related resources; and cost. How does the textbook and the cost of the textbook align with the allocated budget? Evaluation responses were collected using Microsoft Forms from February to April. Respondents were not required to evaluate a criteria if they did not feel qualified to do so. 46 WJCC staff members provided feedback using that rubric. No community members provided feedback through the review process. On April 21st, the selection committee reviewed the evaluation data and discussed the feedback that had been collected. The data allowed the committee to compare the 2 publishers' textbooks and materials. The discussion then centered on the organization of the content, accessibility and readability, and the digital platform features. The committee discussed the strengths and opportunities of each book and made a unanimous recommendation to adopt the 5 Ponds Press textbook, Science All Around Us. The feedback from the review process identified 7 primary strengths of the 5 Ponds Press textbook. Strong alignment to Virginia standards. The resource is specifically designed for the Virginia SOLs, ensuring tight alignment to required content and reducing the need for supplemental materials. This alignment supports instructional coherence and improves teacher efficiency. Developmentally appropriate for our elementary learners. The text is clear, structured, and age-appropriate, making it accessible to all learners. Visuals, layout, and language support comprehension and engagement across diverse student populations. Balanced instructional model. Provides both physical textbooks and digital resources to allow for increased hands-on and traditional learning experiences and greater accessibility for our students and their families at home. The textbook supports a balanced and developmentally appropriate approach to instruction. Fourth, ease of use for our students and teachers. The 5 Pons Press materials were consistently described as intuitive and easy to navigate for both students and educators. Teacher resources were well organized, practical, and time efficient, supporting strong instructional delivery. Increased student engagement. High-quality visuals, real-world connections, and clear organization make the content more engaging. Students and our teachers noted a clear preference for this resource over the alternative. Accessibility and inclusivity. Features such as human-read audio, clear visuals, and structured content better support diverse learner needs, including our special education students and multilingual learners. The format allows all students to more independently access grade-level content. And finally, reliability and implementation readiness. Fewer concerns were noted related to technology access, navigation, or training needs. Teachers indicated they could implement this resource immediately and effectively with minimal barriers. We have begun preliminary planning for the implementation of the new textbook immediately following the school board's decision later this month. While we await access to the textbook content, we will begin critical professional learning for teachers during this summer's Camp GPS and pre-service professional learning sessions to ensure that the supports are in place for effective implementation and to support student achievement in the 26-27 school year. A unique condition for this selection process is the vendor's response to the recently published instructional guides that the Virginia Department of Education released this year. While the Board of Education decided not to revise the 2018 Elementary Science Standards of Learning, the VDOE staff has been tasked to create and distribute robust instructional guides to inform instructional planning, student engagement, and assessment practices. 5 Pons Press is currently revising the science textbook to align to both the 2018 SOLs and the instructional guides, creating a stronger product to support teaching and learning. For that reason, we recommend purchasing access to the digital teacher materials and student textbook for the 2026-27 school year. With this purchase, we will have real-time access to the revisions as they are made to the digital products. Next spring, the print materials will be available for purchase. We recommend that at that time, we consider the purchase of the 2027 edition print and digital bundle. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our committee members for their dedication and the generous time they devoted to this process. I'm especially grateful for the exceptional leadership of our science coordinator, Jessica Coteau, for her thoughtful planning and execution, which ensured a seamless, engaging, and impactful textbook selection process. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ford. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Yes.
Oh, no, I was
Nope.
giving her a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was great.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ford.
Thank you.
We will now move to our next item, 5.02, review adoption recommendation for AP African American Studies textbooks and instructional materials. Thank you, Mrs. Mompoint.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Keever. Tonight, I will provide you with an overview of the Advanced Placement African American Studies textbook and textbook materials adoption process, and provide a recommendation from the Adoption Committee for the acquisition of instructional materials for this course. The adoption of instructional materials for AP African American Studies aligns with key priority, academic achievement, college and career readiness, and educational equity in the strategic plan Elevate 28. Having instructional materials that support 21st century learning and Virginia's profile of a graduate ensures that students and teachers have the appropriate resources aligned with the College Board and WJCC curriculum. It is also included in our goal to have high-quality instructional materials to support equitable access to instruction and resources that promote the success of all students. College Board requires all advanced placement courses to have an adopted textbook, and they provide a list of suggested books for each course. This list for AP African American Studies was provided after the course was first offered last year. In the inaugural year of the course in 2024-2025, we had sections at Jamestown High School only. This year, we have sections of the course running at Jamestown and War Hill. For the 2026-2027 school year, we are pleased to share that we will have sections running in all 3 high schools. To continue the growth of this new course and accessibility to students, we must provide teachers and students with high-quality instructional materials that provide a comprehensive, standards-aligned resource that fully supports the AP African American Studies course and exam description, ensuring students are prepared for the rigor and expectations of the AP exam, establish a common foundation across classrooms, supporting aligned instruction, shared pacing, and equitable access to core content and skills, offer materials that are approachable for a diverse range of learners, including students new to advanced placement, while still maintaining the rigor expected of a college-level course, and include scaffolding, primary sources, and skill development tools that promote inquiry, critical thinking, and success for both novice and experienced AP educators. This slide provides an overview of the adoption process timeline. College Board provided a list of suggested textbooks for this course. The 3 publishers that we put forward for the committee to evaluate provided us with copies of their books and access to their digital platforms and electronic versions of their textbooks. Copies of the books were made available for the public to view at the school board office for 9 weeks and at an evening adoption fair held at Central Office on March 25th. Each school had access to hard copies of the textbooks and materials, as well as online access from both publishers. The community was also provided access to the digital platforms and electronic textbooks through the division website for 9 weeks. A committee representing a variety of stakeholders was created per school board policy IIAAR to review the textbooks and other materials provided by each publisher. I'm appreciative of all the work of the committee members and their colleagues. The committee was comprised of individuals representing the school board, division staff, high school administrators, high school classroom teachers, special education, gifted and LEAP teachers, and parents. Interest in committee membership was collected through administrator and coordinator recommendations and the Engage With Us process. I would like to thank Ms. Kimberly Hundley for serving on the committee as our school board representative. Committee members and the community were asked to evaluate the textbooks and instructional materials considering 2 criteria chosen under the 4 larger categories which are found in IIAAR. The 2 criteria categories are alignment to course content and skills, how closely the textbook aligned to the AP African American Studies course and exam description, and instructional design and usability, such as organization and coherence, support for inquiry and AP skills, scaffolding and differentiation, assessments and resources, and ease of implementation. Evaluation responses were collected using Microsoft Forms from February 6th through April 13th, 2026. Respondents were not required to evaluate a criteria if they did not feel qualified to do so. The committee met on April 21st to review the evaluation data and discuss their thoughts on the books. The data allowed the committee to compare the 3 publishers' textbooks and materials. Discussion then centered on the organization of the content, accessibility and readability, and the digital platform features. The committee discussed the pros and cons of each book, and based on this discussion, made a final decision. The committee voted to select Bedford, Freeman, and Worth's Freedom on My Mind, A History of African Americans. This purchase will provide print and digital materials. including professional learning, support, and resources. The committee shared thoughtful and enthusiastic feedback in support of this text, highlighting how well it aligns with the AP course expectations, supports both teachers and students, and aligns with division practices. In terms of alignment to the AP course expectations, the text offers the strongest alignment with the course and exam description and course themes, the best integration of required primary sources, and opportunities for inquiry that promote deep learning, critical thinking, and creativity. The text also provides strong support for both new and veteran educators, as well as students, through clear and accessible AP skill development that supports effective instruction for all experience levels, built-in scaffolding and differentiation that maintain rigor while supporting diverse learners, and engaging multimodal learning opportunities that promote interaction, comprehension, and language development. Finally, the textbook and digital platform align seamlessly with existing instructional strategies and come from a familiar publisher with smooth Canvas integration expected. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our 12 committee members for their dedication and the generous time they devoted to this process. I'm especially grateful for the exceptional leadership of our Social Studies Coordinator, Leanne Chisenhall. Her thoughtful planning and execution ensured a seamless, engaging, and impactful textbook adoption process. At this time, I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Monpoint. Are there any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. This was the first time that I can remember ever serving on textbook where it was unanimous. Typically, you have three. Somebody likes this one, that one. But it was unanimous. I know another thing we talked about, which made my heart happy, but the teachers were saying they really hope that we invest in the textbooks for students. They wanted them to have less screen time, because it could be digital, but they felt the need for them to put their hands on that hardback book and go through it. So I hope that the money is budgeted for that. And I'm so happy to know that all three high schools are going to be able to offer this course.
Yes.
So it was great. It was a quick meeting because everybody was unanimous, and so that was a good thing.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No, thank you, Ms. Monpoint.
You're welcome.
Are you staying
here.
for the next
Staying
one?
here.
You're gotta click faster. Our next is item 5.03, review purchase request for Writable for Into Literature licenses.
Good evening again. I would like to present a request for your consideration to support the purchase of HMH Writable for Into Literature as a division-wide resources for grades 6 through 12 in English Language Arts. As you know, strong written communication is foundational to student success, not only in English classrooms, but across all content areas and in college, career, and life. As we continue to work to strengthen Tier 1 instruction across the division, we have prioritized providing teachers and students with high-quality, aligned instructional resources that promote rigor, engagement, and consistency. HMH Writable is a natural extension of the instructional vision we began implementing with our adoption of HMH into literature last year. During that adoption process, our committee strongly recommended Writable as a companion resource due to its alignment with the curriculum, the updated English standards, and its ability to support writing instruction in a comprehensive and coherent way. At that time, however, the additional cost placed it outside of our approved budget, and we did not present it to the board for purchase. Writable directly addresses a need we continue to hear from both teachers and students: the need for more structured, consistent opportunities to practice writing, receive meaningful feedback, and revise over time. This platform equips teachers with tools to provide timely, targeted, and actionable feedback, while also allowing them to differentiate instruction to meet the diverse needs of learners across our classrooms. For students, Writable creates a clear and supportive pathway for growth. It provides structured writing tasks aligned to standards, opportunities for revision, and ongoing feedback that helps students build confidence and improve their skills over time. Importantly, it also promotes student ownership of learning by making the writing process more transparent and accessible. This work is directly aligned to our Elevate 28 strategic plan, particularly in advancing academic achievement and educational equity. By providing consistent access to high-quality resources and strengthening writing instruction across the division, we are taking an important step toward ensuring that every student is equipped with the critical communication skills they need for future success. While this represents a significant investment, it is also a high leverage opportunity to strengthen literacy outcomes division-wide, support our teachers, and better support our students. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Monpoint. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much. We will move on to item 5.04, review purchase request for a division mobile device service from T-Mobile. Thanks, Mr. Landers.
Microphone.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Kiever. This agenda item requests the board review the purchase request for T-Mobile Communication Services to be considered for approval at the next board meeting. The division currently utilizes Verizon Wireless Services for smartphones and mobile hotspots. The service does have several problem areas that the technology department has been analyzing for the past year, and several of our buildings have internal areas that the service cannot cover. We began comparing services and options in November of 2025, including surveying coverage from several area service providers. In February of this year, we began testing T-Mobile combined with their Passport service, which allows us to use our internal wireless network to assist with coverage within our buildings. This testing did prove to be successful. T-Mobile also provides a service known as DialPad that allows users to text and talk within an app or through a web interface from a desktop or laptop, freeing them from a particular device. The division currently subscribes for 320 smartphones, 15 staff mobile hotspots, and 40 student mobile hotspots for a total annual cost of approximately $186,000 at an average cost of $45 per line per month. The purchase to T-Mobile would provide 220 smartphones at a cost of $29.40 per line per month, 100 DialPad subscriptions at a cost of $21 per line per month, 15 staff mobile hotspots at a cost of $29.40 per line per month, and 40 student mobile hotspots at a cost of $15 per line per month. The total estimated annual purchase is $127,539. This annual total could vary slightly each year as staff and division needs change, but it is estimated to save the division approximately $50,000 per year. The purchase would be initiated July 1 in the new budget year, and the transfer of lines is estimated to take approximately 2 to 3 months. The purchase would be made using the NASPO MA-176 cooperative contract with T-Mobile, and funds are allocated within the technology cost center of the proposed budget. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Landers. And if I'm looking at it, it looks like we would get all the devices basically for free.
Yes,
and that
ma'am.
we are just paying the cost of the lines.
That's correct. Typically, whenever we activate a new line, there's 2 to 3 different devices that you can choose from that come at no cost.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll move to our next item.
Mr. Snipes, you're going to cover the next 3, I believe.
Okay, well,
That is correct.
we'll start with 5.05, review purchase request for vehicle replacements.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and Dr. Kiever. Tonight's agenda item supports Elevate 28, key priorities of organization and efficiency and safety and security. This proposed agenda item is being brought forward for your consideration is the review of purchase request for vehicle replacements for 2 minivans, 1 cargo van, and 1 pickup truck to CMA Williamsburg Ford and CMA Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Lynchburg for a total cost of $178,923.40. The school division does have a vehicle replacement plan of 15 years and/or 150,000 miles, and these vehicles meet that threshold. Use of the approved vendors under the Virginia Sheriff Association's contract number 25080917R and York County Cooperative Contract number P49689JD will permit the replacement of those vehicles. Again, the total cost of the vehicles is $178,923.40, and a budget transfer from operations and maintenance, salary, and benefits will be conducted for that in the amount of $105,944. The superintendent recommends the school board review the purchase request and associated budget transfer for vehicle replacements and be prepared to vote at the May 19th, 2026 meeting.
Thank you so much.
May 19th.
May-
Did you say 29th?
Thought I said 19th.
Okay, great.
May-
They may want to come back for a second meeting and third meeting in May.
May. They like you so much, they want to be there. for that.
Especially on a Friday.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Just for the viewing public, so it seems like we get a 5% discount off of list price for these, so we have discounts that are part of our.
Correct.
And some of this we're buying new, but some we're buying used, it looks
Correct.
like. All right, any questions? All right, thank you for that one. We'll move on to the next one. 5.06, review request for proposal number 2026-0665, engineering service for Matoka Elementary HVAC replacement.
Yes, this project was included in the FY26 CIP for a total project budget of $480,000. The current HVAC system at Matoka Elementary School was installed in 2007 and has reached the end of its useful life. Williamsburg James City County Public Schools solicited sealed proposals from qualified architectural engineering firms to produce detailed designs, construction drawings, and specifications. The project includes replacement of 4-pipe induction units, some makeup air handling units, and exhaust fans, boilers, automatic HVAC controls, and electrical components associated with the HVAC system. A request for proposal was issued on January 13, 2026, and was with a due date of March the 6th, 2026. As a reminder, this is a placeholder agenda item, and at the time the item was prepared, the request for proposal process had not been completed. The detailed vendor bid award information will be included on the May 19th, 2026 meeting. The superintendent recommends the board review the Matoka Elementary HVAC replacement project information and be prepared to award the contract for RFP number 202-60665 at the May 19th, 2026 meeting.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Snipes? Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling. 5.07, review purchase request for storm drain repairs at Lafayette High School.
Yes, the last proposed agenda item for me tonight is the review of the purchase request for storm drain repairs at Lafayette High School under annual contract number 202-40546 for a total cost of $453,553. Storm drain repair projects were approved in 3 consecutive capital improvement plans, FY24, 25, and 26. After review of the stormwater infrastructure system that serves multiple schools, it was indicated a need for extensive rehabilitation of the pipe systems. Some of those things will be slip lining, curate in place lining, and in-kind replacements. The superintendent recommends the board review the purchase request for storm drain repairs at Lafayette High School to Long Hill Excavating LLC in the amount of $453,553 and be prepared to vote at the May 19th, 2026 meeting.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Snipes on this one? Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll move on to 5.08, review authorization for employee retention bonus payment.
As part of the fiscal 26 state budget process, there is a bonus payment afforded to SOQ positions. As we've talked about before, that doesn't cover all of our employees, and Ms. Ewing will kind of give you an overview of how we intend to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Keever. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As part of the state budget this year, funds were allocated to school divisions for staff bonuses to promote retention among instructional and support positions. School divisions have the discretion to determine the amount of the bonuses to be paid per employee to maximize the use of the state funds to promote retention among instructional and support positions. For your consideration this evening, we are recommending a retention bonus payment for currently working employees that receive a contract for next school year and sign their contract by June 12th. The amount of payment would depend on an employee's daily hours. Employees working less than 6 hours per day would receive $1,000, and employees working 6 or more hours per day would receive $1,500. This aligns with how we provided bonuses in the past. These are also the gross amounts before taxes. The total cost is estimated to be approximately $2.9 million, which would be funded with $2.85 million through operating funds, $96,500 from Child Nutrition Services, and $18,000 from state-operated program funds. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Ewing. Any questions? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Renee has the next one too, I believe.
I do.
We're doing 5.09, review amendment to fiscal year 26 grants fund budget.
This agenda item is an amendment to the fiscal year 26 grants fund, bringing the total to $7,710,967. This update reflects $227,617 in newly awarded grants. The awards include funding for school improvement efforts at James River and Matthew Whaley, funding to support teacher effectiveness in critical shortage areas, supplemental iTeach funding to cover participation and endorsement fees, and funding to support initiatives focused on preventing childhood obesity. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Ewing? Okay. No. Thank you. Our next item is 5.01, review resolution R-16-26, approving a lease extension for the cellular tower at Lafayette High School.
This agenda item before you this evening is a request to amend the current land lease agreement for a cell tower located at Lafayette High School. The initial lease was signed in August 2008 with an initial expiration date of 2034 after all lease extensions. The proposed changes include the following: an increase in the monthly rental amount from the current amount of $3,581 to $3,750 once the amendment is executed, maintaining the annual escalation of 3%, adding a $250 per month revenue sharing component to WJCC for future subtenants, which would be new potential revenue. In addition, the new expiration date with all renewal options would extend until 2069. The amendment has been reviewed by our attorney, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I love we're voting on something for 2069. Be in my 90s, I think. Sure. I don't even know if we'll have cell towers at that stage. Any questions? All right. Thank you so much for viewing. The next one is item 5.11, review revisions for school board standing operating procedure, SOP, our SOP. I would just ask all board members to look at the document. It is redlined with updates that we have enacted, and it's just codifying them in here. And things are really, it's just making sure that we're updating and references the new contract that was signed by the city and the county. Just discussing how we actually elect a chair and vice chair, and we appoint a parliamentarian because that has implications of how we do those votes. The standards of governance section, our school board committees, so updating what are advisory committees, the standing committees. So these are all things that we adjusted in January, but we're just updating the SOP to reflect those. And then just updating that we are no longer in board docs, and it's now called Diligent Community. And then in terms of amending items to the agenda, in the what we do is actually have the consent of the board chair. And so that is the way, otherwise we would have to convene to all consent to change it. So they consult the board chair to make any changes to the agenda, and that's usually just adding in, something that has happened between when we did agenda prep and the actual meeting, and documenting that via an email. And those are the major changes, and then just about our per diems on those few occasions per year that we do travel. Any questions or concerns from the board about our SOP and any of the updates in here? Okay. Well, I'll be asked that you be prepared to vote on that at our next meeting. All right. Okay, we will keep rolling on to items, our information discussion items. Our first one is 6.01, Special Education Inclusive Audit and Action Plan Executive Summary.
Madam Chair, Ms. Cruz is here this evening to take us through the Inclusive Audit and Action Plan summary information. I appreciate her work in leading the effort, and I know that she'll also touch on SEAC's review as well. So Brooke, welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman Donner, members of the board, and Dr. Keever. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Special Education Inclusive Audit and Action Plan Executive Summary for 2026. This plan reflects our continued commitment to ensuring that all students, particularly students with disabilities, have access to high-quality instruction, meaningful learning experiences, and opportunities to succeed. Through this process, we conducted a comprehensive review of our current practices, identified key strengths, and developed clear, actionable steps to further improve outcomes for students across the division. On February 11th, the Special Education Advisory Committee reviewed the plan and expressed their support. One second. The Virginia Department of Education requires all school divisions to develop and implement an inclusive action plan to ensure students with disabilities have equitable access to high-quality education. This approach prioritizes educating students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment alongside their peers across all school settings to the maximum extent appropriate. Beyond access, inclusive practices strengthen school communities by creating opportunities for all students to learn, contribute, and belong. This work is required through both federal law, including the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and state legislation passed in 2021. Since the 2022 to 2023 school year, divisions have been required to complete a statewide self-assessment, develop an action plan, and report on progress every 3 years to both the Virginia Department of Education and local leadership. This ensures not only compliance, but a clear structure for ongoing reflection, accountability, and continuous improvement. Our work is grounded in 10 quality standards that provide a unified approach to inclusive practices across the division. These standards guide how we support students and ensure a consistent focus on improving access, engagement, and outcomes. Across these standards, we assess our current compliance with federal and state regulations, the ability to provide education to students in their least restrictive environment, and assess current resources and supports. Schools worked alongside the Department of Special Education to complete the self-assessment, ensuring consistency and support throughout the process. Each school was encouraged to form a team that included administrators, counselors, special education teachers, and general education teachers, ensuring multiple perspectives were represented. Teams then reviewed key data, including academic performance, discipline, attendance, student identification, and placement, to ground their work in current outcomes and inform the self-assessment. Through the process, several consistent strengths emerged across the division, reflecting a strong foundation for inclusive practices. Student-centered practices are evident with a continued focus on ensuring access to the least restrictive environment and supporting students alongside their peers. There is also a clear foundation of belief and readiness across schools to continue advancing inclusive practices. In addition, systems such as MTSS and master scheduling are being used to support student access and ensure structures are in place to meet student needs. Alongside these strengths, several priority areas for growth were identified across the division. A key focus is strengthening co-teaching and co-planning practices to ensure consistent collaboration and shared ownership of instruction between general and special education teachers. There is also an emphasis on increasing access to strong Tier 1 instruction for all students, ensuring that core instruction is inclusive and meets the needs of diverse learners. In addition, expanding professional development and specially designed instruction for both teachers and paraprofessionals will support more effective implementation of individualized supports within the classroom. To address these areas, clear action steps have been identified to support consistent implementation across the division. For co-teaching and co-planning, division professional development on co-teaching models and best practices will be provided, along with a focus on prioritizing protected common planning time. Walkthroughs and coaching cycles will also support consistent implementation across schools. In addition to strengthening collaboration, there is a continued focus on improving access to strong Tier 1 instruction for all students. Professional learning on differentiation and scaffolding will be provided to ensure instruction is responsive to the diverse needs of students within the general education setting. There is also a continued emphasis on increasing access to the least restrictive environment, ensuring students are learning alongside their peers to the maximum extent appropriate. Collaboration with content specialists will also be strengthened to support high-quality instruction and alignment across classrooms. Building on this work, there is also a continued focus on strengthening the implementation of specially designed instruction. Targeted professional development on designing and delivering specially designed instruction within the general education setting will be provided for both teachers and paraprofessionals. Division-wide resources and exemplars will be developed and shared, and ongoing coaching and feedback will support consistent implementation across classrooms. WJCC remains focused on ensuring equitable access and improving outcomes for all students. This work reflects both the strength of our current practices and a clear path forward to continue strengthening instruction, access, and support across the division. We appreciate your continued support as we move this work forward. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cruz. Any questions? Okay, Ms. Zenon, thank you so much. We'll move to item 6.02, Elevate 28 Strategic Plan Updates, Human Capital and Positive Culture, Communications and Engagement, and Organizational Efficiency and Effectiveness.
Madam Chair, on afternoons and evenings such as this, it gives me a great deal of pride to serve as superintendent for Williamsburg-James City County Public Schools. We do these presentations usually twice a year in May and June as we are covering some of the key stories behind the work happening with respect to Elevate 28. We also provide for the board in the fall of the year or in the early winter of the year some of the key performance indicators. Tonight is about storytelling and for us to share with a lot of pride the things that have been accomplished related to the strategic plan. And I hope that as you listen to the presentation and see some of the words that you take pride, and quite frankly, I hope you get a little overwhelmed by the amount of work that is occurring within our school division. Every day, our educators, our staff, are really getting after it on behalf of our students and our community, and I think this evening will help give you an even stronger awareness of that. Elena, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Keever. Good evening, Chair Donner and school board members. In collaboration with my colleagues, this evening we are pleased to share updates on key accomplishments related to our strategic supporting priorities of human capital and positive culture, communications and engagement, and organizational effectiveness and efficiency. The aim of our human capital and positive culture supporting priority is to recruit and retain an exemplary workforce by creating an environment where transparency and trust are the norm. There are 5 key performance indicators that help us measure this priority, including the percentage of personnel hired by the first day of school, annual employee retention rates, our salary ranking in the region, employee perceptions of WJCC schools fostering a supportive environment, and employee participation in professional learning experiences. Ms. Emily Haywood will now share some of the strategic initiatives related to human capital that have been accomplished this school year.
To enhance our recruitment efforts this year, we are relaunching our WJCC Careers website and contracted with One Fish, Two Fish Marketing to advertise in local restaurants and businesses. We will also be hosting routine hiring periods this summer, including walk-in and virtual opportunities to make the application process more flexible and responsive. In an effort to provide financial support for novice educators pursuing alternative pathways for licensure, we applied for and were awarded two grants through the VDOE, including $10,000 for iTeach tuition support and $20,000 for employees taking coursework in critical shortage areas. In partnership with William & Mary, we will be piloting a teacher in residence program this fall with a graduate student who is pursuing her endorsement in special education, a high need area for us. The student will complete her student teaching experience with us next school year and receive paraprofessional pay and tuition assistance. At the same time, we are building future educators from within and are excited to extend career commitment offers to our Teachers for Tomorrow high school students to return to work for us once they complete their teaching degrees. These students will be recognized at the next school board meeting on May 19th, where they will have the opportunity to sign their commitment letters. Finally, we have restructured the Human Resources Department to streamline our employees' experience, ensuring they have a primary point of contact to meet their needs. Together, these efforts reflect a comprehensive approach, recruiting early, supporting growth, and building a sustainable pipeline for the future. In the area of compensation, our focus has been on implementing phase two of the compensation study. We have integrated targeted salary and stipend adjustments into the proposed budget and will be standardizing titles to ensure consistency and clarity across roles. We've also made a strategic investment in one of our highest need areas by providing stipends for self-contained special education teachers and paraprofessionals, recognizing both the complexity and importance of their roles. Earlier this year, we established a hazard pay regulation for essential staff required to report during inclement weather or building-related issues. Associated protocols have been integrated into the division's closure contingency action plan. Finally, this spring, we launched Thrive 365, our division-wide wellness program designed to foster a proactive culture of health and well-being. Co-designed with employees representing all schools and departments, we have identified 6 domains of wellness and have planned monthly activities to raise awareness and engagement. From employee webinars to fitness challenges to our upcoming summer celebration and benefits fair on June 9th, we are taking a more proactive approach to employee well-being.
Creating a supportive environment for our employees remains a central priority, and this year we've taken intentional steps to align our central support with their feedback. We began the year by hosting our Back to School Kickoff, a high-energy event held during pre-service week to set a positive tone and shared purpose across the division. Employee voice has been a key driver of our work. Through multiple feedback opportunities, including the Elevate 28 Stakeholder Survey, focus groups, and a Wins, Wishes, and Wonders survey this spring, we are gathering meaningful input to guide our continuous improvement efforts. Leadership visibility has also been a priority. Dr. Keever has met with every school's staff twice this year, once in the fall and once in the spring. These meetings allowed him to directly communicate the shared vision and progress of our strategic plan, explain complex concepts such as the budget, and engage in direct dialogue with employees on topics they wanted to elevate. We've also worked to strengthen our employee recognition systems by enhancing our Employee of the Year nomination and selection process to ensure it is more inclusive and representative, and encouraging employees to send notes or video messages of appreciation to one another throughout the year. And finally, recognizing that change can be challenging before it becomes rewarding, we've established interdepartmental teams to support our staff, students, and community through the upcoming transitions for Bright Beginnings and the division's redistricting efforts. Our professional learning efforts continue to build on strong foundations with intentional enhancements to better support all employees with personalized learning experiences to meet their unique needs. Now in our third year of implementation, the Launch program continues to evolve as we onboard early career teachers entering the profession through various pathways, providing them with just-in-time advising, coaching, and learning walk experiences to bring theory into practice. We've also expanded our support beyond the first year by enrolling 19 Year 2 and 3 teachers in the CERN Novice Teacher Academy, where they receive coaching and professional learning within a cohort model. We've also continued to build the capacity of teacher leaders, working directly with our novice educators daily as we provide training and resources to develop their mentoring and coaching skills. Our paraprofessionals are essential resources in our classrooms, often serving as chameleons who adapt to various situations on the fly. This year we had 25 paraprofessionals graduate from our STARS Para Academy. This is the second year of that program. We also hosted our first Parapalooza conference in November and facilitated professional learning sessions specifically for support employees on collaboration learning and planning days. I'm also excited to share that we will now be able to administer the ParaPro assessment here on site starting this month for Level 1 paraprofessionals who wish to become highly qualified and move on the Unified Pay Scale from grade U02 to grade U03. Currently, our paraprofessionals must either drive 90 minutes to a testing location or pay extra to take the assessment from home. So this is a great opportunity for us to remove those barriers for them, and then they can earn that promotion as well. We will also be reimbursing them for any test fees when they pass the assessment. Finally, throughout the school year, our Technology Tuesdays have focused on integrating generative AI tools to streamline productivity and enhance creativity. And this summer, we will host our third Camp GPS series offering expanded opportunities for staff to engage in collaborative, paid professional learning over the summer. We are also very proud that our leadership development efforts have expanded beyond the team members who are in administrative positions as we seek to develop the leaders within our teachers as well. Cohort opportunities such as the AI Ambassadors Program, Teacher Leadership Program, Cognitive Coaching Cohort, and the ODU Educational Leadership Program are building teacher capacity to lead efforts within our schools. Additionally, our professional learning focus group held this spring included employee representatives from every school and department. Over the course of 2 days, this focus group created a common definition and belief statements to communicate the purpose of professional learning. They also designed organizational systems for planning, delivering, and evaluating professional development sessions, and began to curate resources that will help us to improve the quality of professional learning experiences throughout the division. We're incredibly grateful for their efforts, and we are currently putting all of the team's work together into a framework and publication that will be shared in the fall. And finally, our Administrative Leadership and Learning series focused on the topics that directly align with our strategic plan and our superintendent's transition plan, covering topics such as tiered supports for student behavior, differentiating employee feedback, supporting students experiencing resource instability, specially designed instruction, and the integration of generative AI. Together, these efforts reflect our commitment to a comprehensive professional learning system, one that supports growth at every stage and across every role in our division. The aim of our communications and engagement supporting priority is to cultivate a culture of open and effective communication to inform and engage all stakeholders. There are 4 key performance indicators that help us measure this priority, including the number of communications that highlight student and staff success and division news, family participation in division-sponsored events, volunteer participation, and community partnerships. Mrs. Cara Wall will now highlight some of the accomplishments related to this supporting priority.
Good afternoon. Clear, consistent, and engaging communication is essential to building trust and alignment across our division and the community. This year, we've expanded how we connect with our stakeholders. Our community e-newsletter, The Loop, provides regular, accessible updates to anyone who wants to stay in the loop with division news and events. Internally, we've improved transparency and access to information as principals' memos and staff updates are now archived in a centralized location on Insider, our intranet, for all employees to reference. And soon we will be launching personalization features on Insider, making it easier for employees to find the information most relevant to them or their job category. Our branded presentation templates also got a new look this year as we updated them to provide a more modern theme that aligns with our strategic plan. For our broader community, we've enhanced how we share our strategic priorities and progress. The Elevate 28 KPI dashboard and related infographics provide clear, visual updates on our strategic goals, and our multimedia storytelling on YouTube brings our strategic plan to life by highlighting real examples of impact across our schools. In tandem with Elevate 28 is our Superintendent's Transition Plan publication and webpage, where we will post updates throughout each of the 5 implementation phases. Finally, we've strengthened our legislative advocacy efforts by developing clear, concise one-pagers and engaging in topic-specific communication with legislators, ensuring our division's priorities are well represented and understood. Engaging families as true partners in education continues to be a priority across our division. Through our family academies and Title I and LEAP outreach events, we've created meaningful opportunities for families to feel welcomed and empowered to support their students at every stage. Sessions like Learning Through Literacy, Helping Students Thrive, and Growing Math Confidence are equipping families with practical tools to reinforce learning at home. We've also focused on key transition points for students and families. Events such as FAFSA Next Night, Ready Set Senior, and Life Ready, Resume Writing and Interview Skills, are helping prepare our students and their families for success beyond high school. We've also expanded opportunities for parents and other community members to connect directly with Dr. Keever through our Superintendent's Community Connections series and ongoing meetings with HOA and civic organizations. We are also proud to support our military-connected families with 4 new and 1 renewed Purple Star designation schools this year. Finally, events like our Kindergarten Registration Family Fest, which featured new community partners, highlight the collaborative approach we're taking to engage families from the very beginning of their educational journey. Our volunteers and community partners continue to play a vital role in enriching student learning experiences. Through efforts such as the VA 250 Reading Revolution, Read to Ride with the Walmart Distribution Center, virtual storytime sessions with the Williamsburg Regional Library, the Reading Incentive Program with the Norfolk Tides, and training sessions for literacy volunteers, we're sending a unified message that literacy is the foundation for student success, and fostering a love of reading is a community-wide effort. Education Day at William & Mary was a slam dunk for 5th graders across the division, as they had the opportunity to cheer on the men's basketball team at Kaplan Arena with activities to reinforce their academic knowledge. Another winning event was the screening of the multiple choice documentary in collaboration with the School University Research Network, or CERN, at William & Mary School of Education. This effort helped to initiate dialogue with community leaders about the benefits of expanding career pathways for our students. And finally, we are grateful for our partnership with Cook's Burger Bar, who has generously funded Classics for Classrooms this year, giving back a portion of their classic burger sales to teachers across the division. In addition to our direct student-focused partnerships, we've also strengthened the systems and structures that allow our community to actively engage in shaping our division. This year, we brought together diverse voices through the Division Calendar Committee, and that team was supported by a new dynamic calendar design tool. We also engaged stakeholders in major decision-making processes through the redistricting survey and the steering committee, and will host community information sessions next week, a little plug, May 12th and 13th, providing transparent communication and opportunities for feedback. Our partnership with the WJCC Schools Foundation continues to be a cornerstone of this work. Our team has taken an active role in helping to plan and execute events such as an evening on the lawn, their 10-year anniversary celebration, and their strategic planning retreat, as we demonstrate our gratitude for the work of the board members and the generosity of its donors. Developing service-oriented youth remains central to our culture of student leadership. Our Impact Day of Service provided multiple opportunities for high school students from across the division to engage in community service, such as school beautification, environmental cleanup on the Virginia Capitol Trail, stuffing backpacks with school supplies for students in need, and hosting a military appreciation tent at the VA 250 event. We also hosted our first Leadership Connect event last month, bringing together 27 civic leaders from James City County, the City of Williamsburg, and the school division to offer a day-in-the-life shadowing experience for 42 students. Let's take a look at how this day, full of authentic, real-world learning about public service and leadership, connected us all.
Leadership Connect was the opportunity for our high school students to shadow civic leaders for the day. Our students had the opportunity to see how all of those different organizations work together behind the scenes to really create the beautiful community that they get to experience on a daily basis.
Talk a lot in our school division about the need to help our young people understand career pathways and opportunities once they graduate from school.
She basically just taught me kind of like the ins and outs of what she does. It's not just, child protective services. It's more about getting people benefits, making sure they have housing, getting people off of the streets and helping others.
So much about what goes behind the scenes of parks and recreations.
Today I learned a lot about the importance of connections and how to build relationships.
It gave me an experience that I wouldn't have gotten elsewhere.
So I just think it had a new and different perspective of how we could improve and change our system.
Our goal was to really expose our students to the importance of community service, the fact that there are leaders in our community, and to help the leaders in our community better understand the perspective of the students.
This was a fantastic program. Being able to have two high school students show them our operations as the local public transit authority was valuable for me to hear from them. I hope the seeds planted for them to be inspired to work, maybe not directly, but at least be involved in their local community. It is so worth. It's a school day for them, and half a day for us, and you get energized.
Maybe before we move on to organizational efficiency and effectiveness, I don't know if the board had any questions or comments about the first two, human capital and positive culture, and communications and engagement. Wanted to give a spot there if you had questions or things you wanted to explore.
Any questions? I in the first part around our recruitment and retention. I know one of the questions I've received is, our engagement with William and Mary, and are we fully taking advantage of having that as a source of potential teachers literally in our backyard. So would love to, I see we've got some of that with the William and Mary teacher in residence. Are there other things that we're doing to more fully connect with William and Mary?
I will say we have a pilot program with them. They just had their teacher education advisory committee meeting a few weeks ago. And if you look at the number of student teachers that are placed in our district compared to other regional divisions, it's like 4 times the amount in our district than others. But additionally, 2 years ago, we started a literacy practicum course, which actually engages pre-service teachers in, I think, just sophomore year, and that program has been held at Clara Bird Baker and has had raving reviews for students they actually take their class on literacy instruction at Clara Bird Baker. And then they do field-based experiences applying what they just learned in the classrooms. And that program will be moving to J. Blaine Blayton next year. So we're going to continue that MOU with them there as well. So we serve on their committees. They serve on our advisory committees as well. And we're always looking for additional partnerships with them.
Yeah, I remember Dr. Schweitzer, she mentioned that, yes, when Mr. Riffle and I went to visit. Yes, Ms. Hunley.
Yeah, I know we have our hands full, but I hope we also are reaching out to some of our other local schools, like Norfolk State, Hampton University, Virginia State, because sometimes I hear they have some partnerships with other school divisions, and it might be that we just didn't ask or they didn't know to ask us. So even I know at one time we were real heavy with Virginia Tech, and then they kind of dropped off, and I think William and Mary and ODU took on. So I just hope we're still communicating with even Virginia Tech, JMU, because I know we get some students from there. But
Maybe Emily can talk a little bit about some of the recruitment efforts. One of the things, as she turns her mic on, that I'm hearing from other superintendents across the Commonwealth is that folks want to put fences around their community schools so that, sometimes the superintendents in the northern part, up in the Fairfax area, don't necessarily want Williamsburg, James City County reaching out to George Mason and some of those kinds of scenarios. But Emily, talk a little bit about recruiting work in other localities.
Sure. So we do actively recruit at all of those universities. So we attend their job fairs. Many of them have teacher-specific job fairs. We engage in them. We have opportunities occasionally throughout the year. Like we've been to Norfolk State before. We've talked to classes per their invitation to come and speak to their future teachers. So when we have the chance, we do take advantage of those opportunities. But what Dr. Kiefer says is correct. What happens as far as student-teacher placements is they typically don't want to drive too far outside of their area. So that's one of the reasons we get so many William and Mary students and some but fewer from other universities because they don't want to have to commute.
And one of the, I think the neat things about hosting students from William and Mary for their practicum in our classrooms is it gives us a chance to recruit those young people into our organization. Oftentimes they are here at William and Mary from other places across the country, so it's a little bit more of a stretch to convince them to remain, but we try every year to bring on those student teachers and help them remain here.
We also get frequent requests to come be guest speakers in their classrooms.
Yes, Mr. Hodges.
On the family engagement front, it's obviously one thing to get students invested in education. It's another thing to get families invested in education for their children. So I'm curious about what we've seen from like the participation in these family academy events that you guys listed, and how well attended were those compared to maybe expectations?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I think that it's important to note that while we're reflecting on some of the division-wide family engagement events, there's also a myriad of school-based family engagement events that happen weekly, daily, monthly. At the division level, some of the family academies that we shared, I think that we have good turnout. I think that we could have better turnout. Some of the things that we have tried to do to enhance turnout is providing dinner, offering childcare, trying to remove whatever barrier a family may encounter, because this is in the evening time, it is at dinner time. If we can get you to come out, give you dinner, and then provide you with some of the information on these topics, and provide childcare if you have young ones at home that aren't quite school age yet, we can engage them while the parent can learn about how to support their school age child.
Okay. And separating turnout, though, the families that do show up, they are generally satisfied and pleased with the actual events themselves?
I don't want to say 5-star review across the board, but like 4.9, I think would be very fair to say if we look back at our reviews. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And the KPI for that measure monitors participation as well as their perceptions. So you'll get that information in the fall.
Well, yeah, we'll report that in the fall. One of the things that I try to consistently talk about and wonder about as I'm with groups is how do we continue to engage families in events that are taking place throughout the school division, especially those families that are feeling somehow not a part centrally of the process. And I think that we continue to wonder about how to do that. I think to Carr's point, events that happen at the schoolhouse and are sponsored by the school are often those events that families have the most direct connection to. And so I think that part of our work continues to be surfacing those on a more frequent basis and sharing those across our different platforms, because I do think that we have a lot of neat things happening in our buildings for families, and those schools are able to really connect in that way. It is evident to me that our community wants to be involved in the school division, and I think that we provide multiple methods for that to occur, whether it's going to presentations last week of Come From Away, or the week before Mamma Mia, or any of the plays that we offer, sporting events. We offer a wide range of connective tissue for our families, and I think we want to push ourselves to always think about, is there another way for us to do this and bring in even more people?
Any other questions? We can keep going.
Okay. The aim of our organizational efficiency and effectiveness supporting priority is to do just that, optimize the division's effectiveness and efficiency by establishing and strengthening processes and systems. There are 7 key performance indicators that help us measure this priority, including the percentage of budget reversion funds, the percentage of capital improvement projects completed on time and within budget, the mean time to repair maintenance work orders, our bus on-time rate, the average time that our network is accessible and operational, the number of vendors who are paid electronically, and the average repair time for all division-issued computing devices. Mrs. Renee Ewing, Mr. Marcellus Snipes, and Mr. Brian Landers will now share some of the strategic initiatives related to this supporting priority.
Our budget work this year reflects a strong commitment to both fiscal responsibility and strategic investment in our priorities. We've continued our successful partnership with the city and county through a renewed joint contract, ensuring alignment and shared support for our schools. At the same time, we remain on target with our year-end reversion funds, demonstrating careful stewardship of resources. A key priority has been investing in our people. Year 2 of the compensation study recommendations has been fully integrated into the proposed budget, reinforcing our commitment to competitive and equitable compensation. We have also taken important steps to ensure sustainability by reallocating previously grant-funded positions shown here into the operating budget, allowing us to maintain critical roles beyond temporary funding sources. Our accounting team has made additional strides in improving efficiency, accuracy, and user experience across our financial systems. One major accomplishment is the shift toward electronic payments. 88.4% of vendors who accept direct deposit or ACH have transitioned to electronic payments, which is a 35 percentage point increase from this time last year. This spring, we also transitioned to a new timekeeping system. With the implementation of UKG, employees can now submit timesheets, change requests, and leave via the UKG app or time clock. Administrative users also are able to track exceptions, customize reporting, and perform more robust searches, increasing efficiency and convenience for everyone. In addition, we've made enhancements to our professional development and travel forms and our local mileage form, reducing errors and streamlining processing time. And finally, we are always happy to celebrate a perfect external audit and receiving the Association of School Business Officials Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award for the 2025 fiscal year.
Our capital improvement and maintenance efforts continue to support safe, efficient, and future-ready learning environments across our division. We are pleased to report that our capital maintenance improvement projects are on track, with all current projects progressing as scheduled. Key projects include Phase 1 of the HVAC replacement at Matthew Whaley and the lighting replacement at Berkeley Middle School, enhancing both safety and energy performance. Our Bright Beginnings construction project is currently 36% complete, marking steady progress toward expanding early learning opportunities. At the same time, we are in the design phase for the Cooley Field turf project, planning for future enhancements to student athletic activities. We have also invested in sustainability through our efforts to install solar panels at multiple sites, including Central Office, Lafayette High School, James Blair Middle School, and Clara Bird Baker Elementary School, reducing energy costs while supporting environmental responsibility. In addition to these projects, we've strengthened our operational readiness for inclement weather scenarios. This includes updated closure contingency plans, which clearly outline procedures for building preparedness, custodial services, and coordinated efforts to monitor snow routes, manage snow removal, and ensure thorough site cleanup so students and staff can return to school as quickly as it is safe to do so.
For the transition pictures, it is hard for me to fathom that the picture from the bright beginnings groundbreaking was this school year. That just is amazing to me. And if you drive by either CBB or Norge, the fact that we're at 36% completion is really a neat thing for the community.
To strengthen our child nutrition services program, we are taking a comprehensive approach to grounded in student voice and continuous improvement. Later this month, we will be gathering feedback through a student survey, using those insights to refine operations and better meet student needs. That feedback will also inform our approach to menu development, where we will actively involve students in taste tests and ask follow-up questions. At the same time, we are piloting scratch cooking, moving toward fresher, more nutritious options while building long-term capacity within our program. To ensure this work continues to evolve, we are establishing a Child Nutrition Services Advisory Committee, creating an ongoing structure for collaboration, feedback, and continuous improvement. In the area of transportation, we are able to procure 10 replacement school buses and increase the number of bus drivers from 95 to 102. We've also conducted 2 in-service trainings this year for all bus drivers and aides, in addition to the routine training we offer for certifications and compliance. Finally, the Operations Student Survey being conducted later this month will include questions about student experiences on the bus so we can continue to inform our systems and training needs.
In the area of technology, we continue to make improvements in our network infrastructure. We are working to upgrade all of our division wireless access points, having completed 522 upgrades, and are on track to complete all locations in the next month. We have implemented more stringent network access security and resolved over 7,500 help desk tickets, an increase of over 400 from the same period the year prior. We continue to refresh our technology on a 4-year cycle and have met our KPI of an average repair time of within 5 days. We are also proud that our tech support team again received the Lenovo Self-Maintainer Award. We are in the process of completing a review of the amount of screen time that our students are exposed to. And this review has included teacher and administrator interviews as well as data collection using our network tools. More on this will be brought to the board in the near future. We also have continued our AI Ambassador program through a grant-funded partnership with William & Mary that includes 4-person school-based teams, which provides learning opportunities for our staff through a distributed leadership model. We are also very excited about our upcoming Career Connection Camp on June 30th, which allows our rising 8th grade students to showcase their talents through a 1-day summer camp aimed at gaining real-world experience by developing ideas to solve a problem and then presenting their solutions to a panel of experts in the field. I'll be happy to pause at this time and see if there are any questions related to this supporting priority.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. Toy Story 5 is coming out, and the little girl gets an iPad, and all the toys are trying to figure out. She's spending too much time, her and her friends, on screen time and not socializing, so I can't wait to see that. That might be a great movie to show for engagement, family engagement. But it looks like it's going to be really cute because Woody comes back, he's bald, he's got a bald spot, and then that guy, the big strong robot, Bud Lightyear is a little like stiff, and he still says, I could do. So I'm excited, but I don't know, I just thought, you know me and technology, I thought that would be a cute thing. We should all watch it.
It's funny. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, this concludes the highlighted accomplishments for these supporting priorities. We look forward to sharing updates on our key priority of academic achievement, college and career readiness, and educational equity, as well as our supporting priority of safety and security with you at the June 2nd school board meeting. And as previously shared, we will have a comprehensive update on our key performance indicators for you in the fall once all data is available. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess just so we can stretch our legs. The board's been sitting here for well over 2 hours, and so we want to be fully riveted as we talk about budgeting. So we will come back at 12 after the hour. Fiscal year 2026 year-end projection.
Yes, ma'am. As we change the current presentation to the FY26 presentation, Renee will walk us through some of our initial thinking around numbers. As with anything financial, this is subject to change, but this gives you our initial thought process on year-end availability of funds. Renee?
This evening, I will walk you through the fiscal year 2026 year-end financial projection as of the end of April. This presentation reflects our best estimate of revenues and expenditures through June 30th based on actuals through April and updated projections for the remainder of the year. This slide summarizes our projected...
I'm sorry. Mrs. Hunley needs to read her disclosure.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
As a member of the School Board of Williamsburg, James City County, I acknowledge that I may have an interest in the FY27 school budget because my husband's is an employee of the Williamsburg, James City County Schools. However, I believe that I'm able to participate in the consideration and vote on the budget fairly, objectively, and in public interest.
Oh, that was actually for our next agenda item. 03. That was for 04.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Jumped it. Do I have to do it again, or
We
will
do
I
talk about the bonus in this particular.
Yes.
We do talk about the bonus in this particular presentation.
Yes,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Good.
for reminding me.
This slide summarizes our projected fiscal 26 revenues compared to the adopted budget. State revenue projections are based on the March 31st ADM, which was finalized last month. Included in state revenue is funding for a one-time bonus payment for SOQ-funded positions totaling approximately $885,000. You will notice a decline in standards of quality or SOQ funding, which is attributable to an enrollment decrease of approximately 230 students compared to last year. Overall, total revenue is projected at approximately $190.7 million, or about $171,000 below the adopted budget. This represents a variance of less than 1/10%. This slide outlines projected expenditures for the fiscal year. As of April 30th, we have expended approximately $144 million, with an additional $4.8 million encumbered. Looking ahead to year-end, projected payroll costs remain our largest remaining obligation and is expected to total $33.75 million. Non-payroll expenditures are projected at $2.9 million. This projection also includes several items discussed this evening, including a staff bonus payment, secondary ELA instructional materials, Cooley Field design work, and vehicle replacements. When all components are included, total projected expenditures for fiscal 26 are approximately $188.7 million. Comparing projected expenditures to projected revenue, we are projecting approximately $2 million remaining at June 30th, which represents about 1.1% of the total budget. Any remaining funds at year-end would be earmarked for transfer to the division's healthcare reserve fund to help strengthen our long-term financial position and mitigate future healthcare costs. We are anticipating a retention bonus, as we discussed earlier this evening, which would be $1,500 for full-time employees and $1,000 for part-time employees. And at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from Ms. Ewing? We can go on to for item 6.04, fiscal year 2027 operating budget discussion.
Madam Chair, as we move closer to May 19th with the plan to approve our operating budget then, though the state budget is TBD, as it were, wanted to make sure that the board was fully aware, the community was fully aware of the steps that we were taking in order to be prepared to approve the budget. Renee and Emily will walk us through some of those key points, and we'll be glad to answer questions along the path. Renee?
Thank you. The first item we'd like to review is the House budget proposal and its potential impact on our division. The House version of the budget includes a one-time flexible payment for divisions, which would be budgeted in our grants fund. It's important to note to receive the one-time funding requires certification that a 2% compensation increase will be provided each year of the biennium and that we would report expenditures in categories as defined by the Department of Education. While this funding is helpful, the one-time nature limits its use for ongoing commitments. Additionally, the House proposed an increase to the special education add-on funds, which would amount to about $667,000 in additional revenue for our division. This slide reflects the Senate budget proposal, which differs significantly from the House version. The Senate includes increases for at-risk funding, sales tax increases, special education, and raises the state compensation supplement to 3%. If the minimum salary increase moves from 2% to 3%, our expenditures would also increase by approximately $1 to $1.5 million, which would need to be absorbed either through additional revenue or reductions elsewhere. Under the Senate version, total additional funding would be approximately $1.3 million.
Before we transition to the next slide, any questions about the two different versions that are right now being discussed in Richmond? We'll continue to keep you apprised, or you may read about it in the news media before we're able to keep you apprised in terms of what the decision is at the state budget. I think that based on the liaison committee on Friday, both the county and city were comfortable with the school board moving forward with approving the operating budget, utilizing the revenue numbers that the city and county provided through the joint agreement, and based on our calculation of the additional $4.3 million that was in the former governor's budget. So we continue to move forward with our budgeting plans to put you in a position to approve the spending plan. Having said that, and as we transition to the next slide, I do think it's important just to refamiliarize ourselves with what we included in the above and beyond requests that went to the two localities. The requests were not funded in their initial draft spending plans. I think there is some desire to see what happens in Richmond in terms of additional revenues with the cost share model for JROTC. We are able to eliminate that initial $240,000 that we put in the above and beyond request for the cadet program, which takes the total number just under $1 million. As we get a better understanding of what happens at the state, we will come back to the school board if there's additional revenue with some recommendations on how to spend that additional revenue.
This year, the division transitioned from the local choice healthcare plan to a self-insured model, so we wanted to take a moment to provide an update on the current status of our health insurance fund. As of March, total revenues are approximately $13.9 million, while expenses are about $14.2 million, resulting in a net position of roughly negative $283,000 year to date. It's important to note that because claims are paid on a lag, this snapshot reflects timing differences rather than an end-of-year outcome. James City County reappropriated approximately $2.2 million to our healthcare reserve fund, which is a critical component of operating in a self-insured environment.
And this is something that Human Resources, Finance, myself are talking about on a very consistent basis as we've made this transition. I still believe that it is incredibly important for our organization to have made this move to be self-insured. It also creates monthly need for really focused awareness and understanding around our costs and around the revenue that we bring in. So I want the public to understand that. I want the board to understand that we are endeavoring to continue to make strong healthcare decisions on behalf of individual employees, as well as how do we handle that from the division macro perspective.
This graph shows the relationship between the revenue collected and the claims paid. The green line represents the revenue, which maintains relatively steady throughout the year. The blue line represents the claims paid each month, which fluctuates month to month. The area surrounded by the red box is a projection of the remainder of the plan year, taking the average of both revenue and claims so far. As this is our first year of self-insurance, we do not yet have long-term historical data to fine-tune the projections. For that reason, conservative funding and the establishment of a healthcare reserve are essential to manage volatility and protect the division from unexpected claim fluctuations.
We also think it's important to continue to share with you healthcare trends in the market, and Emily has been working with our team at USI as well as Renee, and Emily's going to walk us through the next couple of slides.
So in this graph, you can see the healthcare trends since 2014. The darker blue line represents medical trends and the lighter blue line represents pharmacy trends. National actuarial firms projected a 9.7% increase in medical trend. However, 2026 actual renewals have averaged 18 to 25%. As health plan costs continue to rise, employers face unprecedented challenges in managing benefits budgets. Based on the current trends and the fact that WJCC is still only halfway through our first year of being self-insured, we are maintaining our rate increase at 16% for the next plan year. This increase is consistent with our consultant's recommendation to maintain our healthcare reserves at a healthy level. Some of the factors that have contributed to the higher overall cost include an increased volume of claims, cost of large claims have gone up significantly, network contracts between carriers and providers have been renegotiated, providers are bracing for the impact of Medicare and Medicaid cuts and new tariff impacts, pharmacy costs with expensive medications, including gene therapy and specialty drugs, continue to rise, and behavioral health usage has gone up significantly with longer treatment durations and higher per episode costs. Our budget, which includes employer and employee contributions, is approximately $28 million for the 26-27 fiscal year, inclusive of the HSA contributions. This aligns with USI's independent renewal projection for the 2026-27 fiscal year. The 25-26 budget was approximately $27.1 million. In the current plan year, there was a significant enrollment shift from the highest cost traditional plan into the lowest cost traditional plan. However, there has not been a corresponding decrease in overall claims. As a result, the illustrative budget rates are increasing by 16% to support the overall underwritten projected increase. Pharmacy costs have significantly increased from $5.1 million in the prior rolling 12-month period to $7.5 million in the current rolling 12-month period. As a percentage of total medical and pharmacy claims were 23% of the total claims in the prior period and 34% of total claims in the current period. 47.2% of pharmacy spend is attributed to specialty medications. We first implemented our spousal surcharge in the fiscal year 18, which started at $50 a month. It was increased to the current rate of $75 per month in fiscal year 22. Administration is recommending a $50 increase for the spousal coverage to the rate of $125 per month. If no employee changes their spousal coverage, we would see a reduction in our cost of approximately $288,000. If employees change from employee plus spouse to employee only, that would be a reduction in our cost of $6,096 annually for each spouse removed. Currently, WJCC pays on the employee's behalf $15,984 annually for employee plus spouse coverage, while the division pays $9,888 annually for employee only.
And before shifting to the next part of the presentation, we can pause there on the healthcare front because we're going to move into a couple other things related to FY27. I do want to take you back for a moment to the presentation we just did related to Elevate 28 and human capital and positive culture. One of the key things for us in terms of human capital and positive culture has been the work around wellness. And we are, I think, intentionally creating a stronger wellness community within our employees to help, I hope, offset additional medical costs as we move forward. The focus on wellness and encouraging people to be active and encouraging people to do their screenings and get involved in some of those preventative healthcare pieces, I believe is a net positive for the organization. We'll take a couple years to see the benefit, but the more we can do to encourage the Thrive 365 mentality, I think the better off we are as an organization. So are there questions on the healthcare front before we move into the next pieces of the presentation?
I have a question, just clarification for the cost of our healthcare. I think the slide had us in the negative about 200 or a little over $200,000. Yes, and then, but we still have approximately 2 million in there from James City County earlier. So we still have a cushion in there, just not looking at the revenue and expenses just for this year.
That's correct. So the consultant we work with has suggested that the appropriate reserve fund would be about 3 months worth of claims. So we'd want to be in the $7.4 million range with our reserve fund to provide that cushion for fluctuating claims costs.
Oh, completely understand. I just wanted clarification for everyone that, as you were saying, this is our first year doing this. We haven't built it up yet, but we still have a cushion there just in case.
And I think the other thing is I've used this example, we are trying to do an apples to apples comparison related to the revenue that we've taken in, both from the budget and from employees' contributions, and then the expenses. And so we drew a line in the sand and said, okay, as of March 2026, this was revenue and this was expenses. However, we are still paying claims that predate the March date. So we were paying claims in December and January. So the best snapshot in time that we could give the board and the community was that we're under by about $300,000. We're hopeful that that changes course as we get into the summer and the revenue will outpace the expenses, of course. But to your point, yes, there's the benefit of the reappropriated amount from James City County, and I believe the assurance from James City County that any remaining funds from this fiscal year, fiscal 26 appropriation, would go directly to the healthcare reserve without needing to be reappropriated. So let's flash forward then into the compensation pieces relative to FY27.
The teacher pay scale adjustment will implement phase 2 of the Bolton pay study. All 4 scales will be adjusted to better align the progression between steps and increase the steps to be more closely aligned with the market. Additionally, we are proposing an adjustment in elementary school and middle school reading and math specialists from 208 days to 213 days, so increasing their contract by 5 days. For the unified scale, we are recommending a 4% increase for grades U01 to U10, and then for grades 11 and above, we are recommending a 3.5% increase. Additional unified scale adjustments include realigning select positions to provide career ladders and progression for custodians, mechanics, trades, and equity adjustments for select staff. Increasing related services contract hours by 30 minutes from 7 to 7.5 hours, and that would be our OTs and our PTs and SLPs. And then increasing our high school athletic directors to 12 months. They're currently 11 months. Stipends have not been regularly adjusted over time to keep pace with other salary changes. This year, we commissioned a study with Bolton to review our stipend program. As a result of that review, we are adjusting all stipends by 15%. In addition, we've made adjustments to ensure market alignment and meet our priorities. For example, the middle school dramatics sponsor stipend will be adjusted from the current $1,331 to $1,500 per semester, an increase of $1,669 per year. We are also increasing the middle school athletic director stipend from $2,153 to $2,500 per season and are recommending the addition of a high school athletic director at $2,000 per season. Assistant director, excuse me. For the next year, we plan to categorize the stipends by similar impact in terms of hours and students served. And at this time, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Open it up to the board for additional questions.
One quick question, please. On slide number 5, you talked about James City County appropriated $2.1 million for our healthcare reserve fund. That's already in the pot. That's there.
Yes.
And you're expecting some, the reserve, what's ever left over for this budget is also going to be added to that amount, another
Yes, sir.
2. So we're going to potentially be at maybe $5 million.
Maybe.
Well, that's pretty darn good. I mean,
Well,
I think, yeah, getting you reserved to 7 would be
sure.
excellent.
I do just, let's be cautiously optimistic that our claims in the out months, the months that we don't have insight into, are not above that green line with that blue line. And we are hopeful that that is the case, but it is good that we have the ability for the reserve in the event that we have some challenges as we finish out this plan year.
Yeah, but you're also increasing by 16%, so that should give you some latitude.
Which we might be able to experience at the end of the next fiscal year.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you both so much. We will move into section 7, which are policies. We'll start with our first one, 7.01, review revisions to policy BBBC, board member oath of office.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Keever. Tonight we're bringing several policies for review, and the first being policy BBBC, board member oath of office. The policy was last revised January 7th, 2020, and last reviewed September 2024. And as part of this review, we compared it to the corresponding VSBA model policy, which was updated in February 2026. The one recommended revision is the addition of language clarifying that if a board member attends their first meeting without having taken the oath, that alone will not create a vacancy, providing the member takes the prescribed oath within 30 days of the first meeting. Our recommendation is that the board approve this addition of this language to the policy, while legal counsel has confirmed that this provision is already established in law and effective regardless. We believe explicitly including it in the policy provides greater clarity and transparency. The policy has been reviewed by legal counsel and is approved as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions on that policy? Okay, all right. We'll go to 7.02, review revisions to policy DLB, salary deductions.
Thank you. This policy was last revised May 18th, 2021. And as part of this review, we compared it to the corresponding VSBA model policy. There are several recommended revisions. First, minor language edits were made to align with the model policy, clarifying that federal and state taxes are automatically deducted and that the list of voluntary deductions is published annually and provided to employees. Next, standard language has been added, authorizing the superintendent to establish regulations and procedures consistent with this policy. Regulation DLB-R salary reductions provides employees with a detailed list of the voluntary deductions available to them through payroll deduction. These revisions have been reviewed by legal counsel and approved as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about this policy.
Are there any questions for Dr. Brown? Okay. We will move on to the next one, 7.03, review revisions to policy GAE/GHG, child abuse and neglect reporting.
So as I present this, I just want to make note that the next two, 703 and 704, are a dual policy, and we're looking at an opportunity to streamline this opportunity. So policy GAE, which was last revised on June 15th, 2021, and as part of this review, we did review it or compare it to the corresponding VSBA model policy. The revisions are primarily administrative in nature. Legal references have been updated for accuracy, including the addition of Code of Virginia 1950 as amended language and the removal of outdated administrative code references. The cross-reference has also been updated to reflect the regulation title, GAE-R. No changes are being recommended to the companion regulation at this time. This has been reviewed by legal counsel and approved as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about 703.
Are there any questions about 703? Hearing none, we can move over to 704, which is review retirement of policy GHG-/GAE, child abuse and neglect reporting.
Thank you. And as part of this recommendation, it's important to note that it was a dual policy. We're recommending that we retire this policy. Policy JHG currently sits in the students section of our policy manual. However, child abuse and neglect reporting is fundamentally a requirement for staff action and is not a student policy. Moving this exclusively under policy GAE, which sits in the personnel section, better reflects the nature and intent of the reporting requirement, and retiring this policy helps eliminate redundancy and streamlines our policy manual. Legal counsel has reviewed and agrees with this recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the proposed retirement.
Are there any questions? No? All right, we'll go on to 7.05, review revisions to policy LA, relations with colleges and universities.
Thank you. This policy was last revised June 15th, 2021. As part of this review, we did compare it to the corresponding model policy. There are a few recommended revisions. First, the policy title has been updated from relations with college and universities to education agency relation goals to better align with the model policy and more accurately reflect the broader scope of the policy. Second, redundant language was removed from the first paragraph to improve clarity and streamline the policy. Third, language was added to the third paragraph to protect students and teachers from unnecessary intrusions that may disrupt instruction in regular school activities, specifying that requests for college students and professors to observe classes or otherwise interact with students or division personnel must be submitted directly to the superintendent or designee. This consolidates and replaces a standalone paragraph that was previously captured with the same intent, but not in a less streamlined way. Finally, the cross-references have been updated for accuracy. It's been reviewed by legal counsel and approved as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about this proposed revision.
Are there any questions about this particular policy? All right, if not, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will move to our action items. Our first is 8.01, approval of personnel actions. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the personnel actions as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Chen. May I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, thank you, Mr. Hosang. He was faster on the buzzer there, Mr. Hodges.
At least you got the names right this time.
I did. Well, as I was looking. I almost said Hodges, but you got him fast. Ms. Aller.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye. We'll move on to item 8.02, approval of the purchase request for design services for Cooley Field turf installation. May I have a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the purchase request for design services for the Cooley Field turf installation under annual contract number 20251153 to the Timmons Group in the amount of $121,768.
Thank you to Dr. Cavazos. I'm sure you're very excited to do that one. May I have a
Indeed,
second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Ms. Aller?
Dr. Cavazos.
Aye.
Ms. Chen.
Aye.
Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Mr. Hosang.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mr. Riffle.
Aye.
Mrs. Donner.
Aye. We'll move over to our board member comments. I'm going to open the floor as we do roulette here with Mr. Hodges. We'll go there first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to cover a lot of ground in my comments tonight, so I thank you all in advance for your patience. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, a time to focus on improving recognition, understanding, and empathy for those who are suffering from a mental health issue. I have been very open and honest with my history of mental health struggles, specifically managing an anxiety disorder as well as intermittent bouts of depression. It is no exaggeration that reducing the stigma around mental health issues saves lives. As society becomes more willing to discuss these issues, fewer people, both young and old, feel the need to suffer in silence, and instead opt to receive the necessary treatments to find relief. I want to state unequivocally, there is no shame in having a mental health issue. It's okay to not be okay. You are not alone, and there are people out there who care about you and love you, and they want to help you. In fact, my own experience at school navigating a mental health crisis was one of the main reasons I even sought out a position on the school board. I wanted to help ensure that no student had to go through what I went through. And since joining this body, I've been thinking a lot about how to best aid our students in that area. And in the course of thinking through the issue, my thoughts have spanned a number of tangential topics. And one topic I keep coming back to with regards to mental health is artificial intelligence. If this seems strange to you, I want to share the story of Adam Rain, a 16-year-old who committed suicide in April of 2025. After his death, his parents went through his phone and discovered lengthy conversations with ChatGPT. For context, Adam started using ChatGPT to get help with his homework. His conversations eventually transitioned away from his homework, and instead the chatbot became Adam's sounding board for the personal issues he was dealing with, including suicidal thoughts. Horrifically, when Adam asked ChatGPT whether he should be honest with his parents about his suicidal thoughts, the chatbot discouraged him from doing so. Later, ChatGPT even went so far as to offer to help him write his suicide note. Every step of the way, Adam's cries for help were ignored or discarded by an impersonal, uncaring, and deeply flawed machine. And sadly, Adam's story isn't unique. In June of 2025, ChatGPT instructed a suicidal 17-year-old how to tie a noose and provided information on how long someone can survive without breathing, added it was, quote, "here to help however I can." That 17-year-old then went on to commit suicide. In October of 2024, a 14-year-old committed suicide after developing an emotional attachment to an AI chatbot on the Character.ai platform. After expressing his suicidal thoughts to the chatbot, instead of attempting to dissuade the child from self-harm, it responded, quote, "come home to me as soon as possible, my love." According to a survey by the digital safety nonprofit organization Common Sense Media, 72% of teens have used AI companions. Additionally, the digital safety company Aura found that nearly 1 in 3 teens use AI chatbot platforms for social interactions and relationships. The study found these uses were 3 times as common as using these platforms for homework help. And a 2025 Stanford University study found that these chatbots are not equipped to provide an appropriate response and can sometimes give responses that escalate the mental health crisis. To be clear, what I have just shared has nothing to do with my personal opinion on AI. These are facts, backed up with data and a myriad of tragic outcomes. To make matters worse, AI companies are fighting tooth and nail against regulations that would seek to rein in these platforms and establish safeguards for users. OpenAI, Meta, Google, and IBM are all among companies that have directly lobbied the White House to establish national rules that would limit or prevent states from establishing their own set of rules around AI, around consumer safety, accountability, and transparency. And in the wake of that lobbying effort came Executive Order 14365, which established a federal policy aimed at promoting a uniform national framework for AI regulation and limiting the impact of conflicting state laws. In the text of that executive order, it states that the order seeks to, quote, check the most onerous and excessive laws emerging from states that threaten to stymie innovation. From the highest levels of our government to the AI companies themselves, the message is clear. The safety of the users is secondary to the allure of innovation. So with that in mind, I will now turn my attention to the official WJCC Schools Generative AI Guidebook. In the guidebook's own words, quote, this guide outlines how staff, students, and families can use generative AI responsibly to achieve these goals while adhering to the WJCC Acceptable Use Policy as well as the Student Code of Conduct. Together, we can unlock the potential of AI to elevate learning for every student. To be clear, I think this guidebook was established with noble intent and a real desire to do right by our students and staff to use AI responsibly. I think it is admirable that WJCC was forward-thinking in establishing a policy around AI in a time when many others were not. And also, I think we need to be honest about the state of AI and the lack of safeguards that exist, especially for minors. While it's true that we are powerless to prevent our students from accessing AI platforms from their personal devices when they aren't in school, we do have agency with regards to directing and guiding them to use AI services for schoolwork. We can advise our students to use AI safely all we want. But if the AI companies themselves will not institute proper safeguards for its users, we are ultimately inviting trouble by directly or indirectly giving our students directions to access these platforms where they are then subjected to the same conditions that resulted in the tragic outcomes I presented earlier. I believe AI can be a force multiplier for skills and for creating useful tools and products. I also believe that in the current environment, it is unsafe and, moreover, detrimental to learning to have our students using AI for school assignments. I hope that moving forward, we can continue to have substantive and frank discussions about how, if at all, AI should be used or accessible in our schools. I thank you for your time, and with that, Madam Chair, I conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges, for sharing that. I'll go to Mr. Hosang next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. just want to start off by recognizing our teachers with Teacher Appreciation Week and thank you for everything that you do and taking care of our students, taking care of our children during the week and teaching them everything they need to learn for life. So I just want to say a big thank you from me for that. Again, there's several issues I want to go over tonight. The first is I neglected at our last meeting to thank General Michael Harrison for assisting us in getting the Army JROTC program here for WJCC. I had not had any interaction with him, but someone else mentioned his name to me and said that he was very instrumental in bringing that to WJCC, so I wanted to make sure I recognized him and thank him for all of his work in bringing that here. We're getting into the time of year where we have a lot of functions, a lot of issues going on, and so some of you will be talking about also, but I want to thank Dr. Keever for the supper with the superintendent that he sponsored last week, and recognizing the first year teachers and getting their feedback. The only thing I can add, Dr. Keever, is that this was not the New Horizons Culinary School for dinner, but it was still very good, so I appreciate the invitation and your recognition of the new teachers.
So noted, Mr. Wilson.
I also want to thank Miss Sarah Boyd from War Hill High School. She allowed members of this school board, of this community, to be jurors in a mock trial put on last week by her law and debate classes. And I also want to give a big thank you to Judge Robert Saunders, who took time out of his day to serve as a judge. He's an actual judge in Newport News, so he came and was the judge for the mock trial for the students. And I just want to say that to give a lot of credence to Ms. Boyd, because her students did a great job. If you haven't attended one of these, it's great. Being an attorney myself, I've sat through a bunch of these, but the students are the prosecutors, they're the defense attorneys, they put on witnesses, they go through the whole trial. And they have an actual judge there ruling on their motions and objections and everything. So they're questioning the witnesses, they're making arguments, and they're doing it not only in front of strangers on the jury, not only in front of an actual judge, but also in front of their peers and their parents and family members. But I just want to put out there that this class is just not for aspiring attorneys. I think I only talked to a couple students who said that they wanted to go on to law school or plan to go on to law school. I mean, this class helps you look at life issues and helps you take facts, define what the issues are, make arguments in support of or against the issues that you're looking at, and also gives them confidence to speak in public. One of the things Ms. Boyd said was at the beginning of the school year, the students were asked to get up and just like give their name and give a little something about them, and most of them or a lot of them were very shy and didn't want to do that. At the end of the school year, they're making arguments, they're questioning witnesses, they're doing a bunch of things, they're talking to the judge and talking to the jury. So it's just a very good life class and life lessons to learn. So if you get a chance to take that class next year, please do so. And I can't remember the new course that we just approved for War Hill, but it was just something that they could actually do, or it's an additional class, so it'd be something that they can look out for and do. The next couple issues I want to talk about are the budget that we've just talked about and we've been talking about for the past several months. I know while we're all excited, at least some of us, I think we're all excited about getting JROTC here for Williamsburg, James City County. And I noticed that it was taken off of our list of hopeful items, but I'm not sure we've come up with a way that we're actually going to pay for this. So we've gotten...
I didn't mean to interrupt. It's in the operating budget for the cost share model. So that is included in the op budget that I'm hoping that you approve on the 27th, on the 19th.
Okay, so that's been added since this one.
No, it has been in the op budget. So we had two items. We had the 175,000 that was in the op budget that you approved in March, and we were leaving the 225 or 240 in the above and beyond request in the event that it was not the cost share opportunity. So that's why we were able to remove the cadet program, because we got the cost share and that was included in the op budget. Okay. Just for clarity's sake.
Okay, and it was because it's just one of those things that I don't remember formally discussing, and it was like, I mean, an initial $150,000, $200,000 that we would be looking at to expend. But this brings me up to my next issue is lacrosse. I attended 2 games last night. One was the Lafayette boys playing against Menchville, and I will just say the Lafayette boys won big, and I can just leave it at that. The other one was Jamestown Lafayette girls teams playing, and that game went back and forth. It was a great game. It was exciting to see all the parents, all the spectators there. There's probably at least, I'd say, 50 to 100 spectators for each game watching. And one of the biggest obstacles I think we hear about this is finding a place to play. I think there's at least 5 to 6 options that we have that we can use next year in order to get lacrosse in our budget for the next school year. And Cooley Field resurfacing is not a prerequisite to get this accomplished. Again, I'll go over some of the options that I see, and I know there's other options out there that other individuals have pointed out to me. But first one is Wayner Field. There's been several times during the week, at least once or twice, that it's not being used in the spring. So that would be the time that we could get lacrosse into playing there. At least, like I said, at least once a week, probably twice a week. You could have multiple games there a night. So that is one option. A second option is Cooley Field. I know that we are working to get it returfed, but if you talk to the players, the coaches, the parents, they play at least 50% of their games right now on grass. So saying that we have to have a turf field before we can bring in lacrosse is not accurate, is not true. Also with Cooley Field, we have football teams playing on that field. We have field hockey teams playing on that field. So if our concern is that it's a grass field and we don't want our players playing on it, then why are we having football and field hockey playing on it? So we do not need to have that turfed in order for us to start moving forward with lacrosse. Third, we have a field that's inside the track at War Hill. It's fenced in. To my knowledge, it's not being used in the springtime, so that would be another option that we could use to hold lacrosse games. We can also fall back on the Whisk, where there's at least 2 fields that are set up for boys lacrosse. There are 2 fields that are set up for girls lacrosse. If the biggest issue is figuring out a way that we can sell tickets, every parent I've talked to, every coach I've talked to said that they could set it up where they could have individuals at each end of the fields taking tickets. And their parents, everyone, the spectators coming are more than willing to pay to watch their kids play lacrosse as a high school sport. At the very least, if we don't take tickets next year, if we can get lacrosse into our budget, that's just 1 year that we won't have ticket sales if we go to the Whisk. And I think that that's something that we could very easily do for our school system, for our students. And finally, we have other high schools and middle schools where these teams are practicing at this point. So there are other locations in our school system where we could have games sponsored. So I think that's something that we need to seriously consider, that we do have the playing facilities for lacrosse for next year. That should not prevent us from moving forward with getting lacrosse into our budget. I'm going to put myself out there again. I have not heard one employee say that they do not want or that they object to the 0.5% of their comp study going towards lacrosse for next year. And heck, I think right now we could go down to 0.25%. It's now that we have JROTC partially funded. So no employee has said that they would rather have that $300 as opposed to putting it towards lacrosse and putting it towards the students that want to be able to play lacrosse for next year. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to forego what other school systems are having to do at this point, and that's cut their personnel. Albemarle County, I believe Richmond school system, I know there's some others that I'm forgetting, but they're cutting positions right now in order for them to pay for new programs and services. I don't want to do that. I would like to keep us where we are at this point. But the issue with that is we've already been advised that our student population is not increasing, and in fact it's decreasing. We've already heard from the Board of Supervisors and I believe the City of Williamsburg, but I can't, don't hold me to that, that they're concerned about our trying to increase our employee population when our student population is decreasing. So that's one thing that we need to consider, and I would rather not go down that route. But if there's other ways that we can fund lacrosse, that's what I would hopefully that we can do. I mean, and again, I've talked about this before, but bringing in lacrosse would be such a boon for our students. Our students have come to us repeatedly since last year. We've told them last year that we would look at it this year, and I just don't want to keep kicking that can down the road for our students. I want our students to see that when they come to us, that we are listening to them and that we are going to try and work with them to and give them what they're looking for as long as it's within reach. And at this point, I believe it isn't within reach for us to do this for our students. And I would still ask that we put lacrosse into our budget for next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hosang. Ms. Chen.
Earlier it was mentioned that we have some redistricting community meetings coming up. So I just wanted to reiterate that we are looking forward to that starting. I'm going to infuse positivity into this process because it is something that is great, the pre-K centers that are coming. And so just wanted to put that plug in real quick, the redistricting community meetings, which I'd also like to add, let's think of them as like information and learning sessions for community. This is sort of the first time these drafts are going to be put out there by our consultants who have been working really hard, and our committee that has been showing up week after week and spending multiple hours of their time working and poring over these maps, as well as Ms. Wall, who has just been incredible. So just wanted to say we welcome everybody coming to these community meetings. We want everybody to look at the maps, digest them, come with a learner's attitude. And they are, most important thing, they are Tuesday, May 12th at Lafayette High School at 6:30. And then Wednesday, May 13th, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Williamsburg Regional Library, and 6:30 to 8:30 at Berkeley Middle School. I think I got that right. Yes, all right, okay. So once again, May 12th and 13th, they're at 6:30 in the evening. And then there's also one during the day for anybody who wants to come during the day at the Williamsburg Regional Library. And I don't want to say too much, but I'll say real quick, also happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and this weekend is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day in advance to all of my school board mamas and also all of the mothers in this room and all the mothers out there. You know, you make the world go round. So, and then the other thing I wanted to share tonight is real quick. I did have the opportunity to finally do a school visit with Mr. Hodges, so that was really fun. It feels like ages ago because there's been so much going on. But it was a party. We brought a party to Jamestown High School. Mr. Hodges and I, along with Councilwoman Kern Shear, Vice Mayor Dent, and Board of Supervisor member Miss Ruth Larson. So I just shout out to all of those partners leaders in our community who came and joined us. And also thanks to Miss Karen Scott, who has been leading, Jamestown High School. And she took us to so many classes. So I've been to a lot of school visits, but this one by far, Miss Scott took us to every floor of the building. I think we saw multiple classrooms. And it was just great. We got to see like a variety of classes. And then I also got to do a visit with Miss Donner and City Councilwoman Ramsey at JBMS. And one thing new that I saw there was we got to speak to Miss Yvette Jackson. She oversees ISS and she's also a cheer coach. And as if that isn't enough, she also is, I think, one of the most amazing initiatives that she started at JBMS is called Emerging Butterflies. So I'd always sort of heard about it, and I was a parent at the middle school for a while. So, but we got to actually talk to her, and I think she's just an incredible teacher and woman and leader. And she leads an after-school girls group all year long called the Emerging Butterflies. It focuses on building self-esteem, positive relationships, leadership skills in our community. They talk about mental health and wellness, emotional intelligence. So these are all really important things that we want our students to be able to learn alongside their academics. So a big heartfelt thank you to Ms. Jackson for everything you do and to every educator this week and every day.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chen. Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Initially, I want to say I would like to offer my deepest gratitude to each and every teacher for their selfless efforts in educating our students and instilling the personal skills to be successful in their future endeavors. And given that it's the 5th of May, I would like to say, muchas gracias por todo lo que están haciendo. I would also say congratulations to all of the staff. It was a very comprehensive review of the division's efforts to elevate our students beyond excellence. Thank you very much and congratulations. I'm particularly delighted to hear that the division's commitment to engaging families in the community, especially when it comes with regards to the issue of literacy. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate the division for moving to a self-insurance program, because I think that's going to provide that's going to be an excellent move to provide health care to our personnel and give you a lot more latitude and a lot more being able to negotiate the contract that we get with our people. And finally, from previous discussions I've had with Dr. Keever, I'm convinced that he's expressed a true commitment to monitoring and supervising the use of AI in this division. And I think his staff are well aware. And thank you very much, Mr. Hodges, for your comments. That's a problem. And I really do think that, at least from my impression, there's going to be a lot of effort made. And thank you very much for that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cavazos. Mrs. Hunley.
Yes, piggybacking on what everyone said about Teacher Appreciation Week, I remember that's the week we all put on a lot of weight because all the parents bring in breakfast, lunch, and I'm sure they all had Cinco de Mayo tacos and all kinds of things today at lunchtime. And just talking about community involvement, some of you met my sorority sisters that came to one of our meetings. They adopted James River, and we did breakfast for them yesterday, and they were just very appreciative. So they work so hard, and it's the least we can do. The plays, it's a wrap. You know, all the plays are done. They were great. It's funny that they all work our no bag policy into the script by saying, I know you couldn't bring money into, but we have a QR code on the back of this form that you can scan. So I thought that was great, but it was funny. Even in one play, they actually referenced he goes, I didn't do the bag policy. And I'm like, I hope nobody sees me here. But anyway, I know this has been the 30th year that I've lived in Williamsburg, James City County, and I think just being involved in all the community things and engagement things is the first time I've really seen our community step up and step out. And I'm a room reader, like when I'm in meetings. And the one thing we did with the students where they went out for shadowing, at first, you know, it was like real quiet. But when they came back, they had a different walk. I mean, both the adults and the students had different walks to me. They just felt connected. I mean, you could feel it. And I just think, I'm hoping these are not one and done things, that we need to continue with them, because I think the community is now seeing that they're needed for the first time. They're, you know, you say it, but to see it is great. And I know there was a time in 2007 where we actually had some students that used to go out and work in the community and work with some of the agencies. It was a summer program. And the kids dressed up and they went to their jobs and they learned how to do it, and it was just really great. That's the one thing I liked about the mock trials we did. Every child was in a suit, or girls were in dress and heels, and even the judge complimented former chair Greg Dowell's son. He came in to cross-examine a witness. The judge complimented him and a girl, saying, I've seen first-year lawyers that could take tips from you. That's how stellar they were. And then also, I flew solo this month on some of my school visits, which was really nice, especially at the Restorative Center, because I said, you know, with Mr. Olds, I'd like to just sit down and can we just talk about each program in depth and then let me see them. So it was really good for me to do that with them. And we went into Reset, and and then the GED program was interesting because I saw what Ms. Donner was talking about, where you can see where they're about ready to complete. So we're going to have all these students graduate soon, get their GED. And then we went in the learning lab, and they were all working away. And then when it was time for break, it was cute to see the girls. Shoot, they went to each other, you know, they're all talking. But there's this one young man, he was holding the teacher hostage. And so I came over to talk to him. I said, you know, it's break, don't you? He said, no, I want to get this done. And he asked, you know, what I taught. And I told him kindergarten. He said, oh, I gave my kindergarten teacher, James River, HE double hockey sticks. And he said, I never liked school. He said, but I like this because I'm trying to get finished and get out. So I'm not doing my break. And I was like, wow, you know, he wanted to keep working. And the young lady said that she appreciated having that extra support from teachers, that she just felt lost when she was in the big classroom. And then this was interesting. I went to the military career where we took an Alito bus, y'all, not a school bus, but we took nice buses to Fort Eustis. And there were 3 men on the bus that were it was a teacher, a coach, I think he taught also, and the guidance counselor. All 3 of those men are all in Lafayette's building, but they never really talked to each other. So the whole bus ride, they're like, because one was, he was in the service at Fort Eustis for 8 years before coming to us. He's been with us for 4 years. The other gentleman was a career switcher, English teacher. He's been with us for 5 years. And then the counselor, 10 years. They just were talking, and they had so much in common, and they just talked the whole time. And I said, wow, that was just really neat to see, you know, people that are in a building but didn't know each other, probably see each other, pass each other every day, but just didn't know what each other did. So that was great. And then when we got there, we had the tour of the Black Hawk helicopters, and then we went to the ships. But it was interesting to see the girls, when they saw those, they weren't cadets, they were guys that were in the service, but only for like 2 years. And when they gave the year they graduated, and you could see the girls like, I was like, oh gosh, he's so cute. But the guys were more interested in the vehicles in the parking lot, the trucks. They were naming, oh, I can't wait to drive one of those. So it was interesting. But the one thing they were most impressed with was there are 140 jobs you can go into in the Army, other than just, because most people think you just go to battle. And the K-9 handler lady was the one, they all just went to her because they wanted to know how to do that. But there's a long waiting list for that. But just to hear you can be in the band, you can be a chef, so that was really good. And then to see the flip side of this, to go to Claire Bird Baker for their career Centers Day, the foundation gave them $4,000. They took the top 10 jobs that AI is not going to take, well, AI, no threat of AI, and they had it for the students, and all the students got to go through these. So they had floral arranging, they had EMS, they had dentistry, veterinarian, you name it. There was 10 stations, and the one thing the girls liked being at the station where you could take the lug nuts off of they had like a car that had wheels. You could take the lug nuts. They had all the wrenches and tools. They really liked that. And it was also interesting to see the young boys at the baby station. They had baby dolls, and one little boy didn't know how to undress a baby doll or put the clothes on. He struggled with putting on and so they were helping him. But then there was another little boy that came over and did that, and I said, "Are you a big brother?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I actually have a baby sister," and he says, "I know how to do this." But he was holding a baby and showing the boy how to put the baby clothes on. So, but it was, and nobody argued. They all shared, they communicated, they worked together, and she said that all of the kids said that was the best thing. And so that's why this play is very important to keep that going. The rookie teachers, that was great. The one thing that I have been trying to check through the launch program, make sure our young teachers are doing well, but what we are finding is they don't know what they don't know to even ask. So we have to work on that a little bit. And let's see, the last thing, the community, no, I already said that. All these things that we're doing with engagement and communication, I hope that we can continue and not just drop it, but keep going with it. So those are my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hunley. Mr. Riffle.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I attended the Leadership Connect in the morning, and it was a great experience to talk to some of the students and some of the people in our community that I've seen through work or haven't met yet, and it was a great opportunity. I think from tonight's presentation and the school board meeting we had today, you could see that throughout the whole year we've had a lot of things we've put on that are new. I think it goes back to what Ms. Hunley was saying. We're trying things out, we're doing things that our students want. They want to engage with different career paths or different people in our community, and it really takes a lot of work to do that. So I just want to thank the team around the room here and Dr. Kiever for taking the initiative on some of the things we've been asking for as a division and as school board members and stuff. It's really a task to do. It's not just like saying it and hope it happens. It's a lot of motion stuff, and it's a lot of people who actually agreed to do these type of things with us, so including the nice buses. So they all take work. In school board, I guess calendar stuff I've done, and we've done the PSBA, the awesome drive to, what was it, Norview High School or something. So that was brutal. Then we had some Mission Barbecue, but it was nice to see some of our colleagues from across the region and do that type of stuff. And then I visited JBB with Ms. Hunt. No, it was Ms. Donner. I'm sorry. I was every time I go to school, I go with Ms. Huntley. So, but yeah.
So do we all.
Exactly. Yeah, she's always on bat, So, no, it was great. We, got this, I read there this year and stuff like that, but it was good to see some of our students. We got to see egg embryos and the stuff that kindergartens where they had some eggs. I think there's 3 days left before those start happening. So that was cool. Then I was an observer to the War Hill mock trial. I wasn't actually doing the job of the jury, but it was cool to hear from our students as you all were discussing how you're gonna the jury was gonna charge the case, how they felt about just interacting with us and seeing school board members, but also people like the judge and parents and stuff who are really engaged in that type of work with our students. So it really takes a community, and that's kind of what this week's about, with appreciating our teachers. So I just want to say thank you too, and it's important that we keep finding ways to encourage and be a part of the system with you, because we're just kind of people sit at a desk here and hear presentations, but really the work happens in that room and outside of it with our students. So and last night, I really love redistricting. I'm excited for it. It's like what I went to school for. So it's kind of, like, I'm glad some other members got to take on the part of doing the every weekly events. But it's really something I think our community is going to, I think the work, it's a lot to do. And it's important that we get it right and we hear from feedback that's, not just emotional, but also to a point of like, how can we be better at facilitating things for our students? So I hope people just approach it similar to Ms. Chin said, is like it's informational at first and not just this is happening to us. It is all happening to all of us. We're a team. It's a team sport here in school, and we're excited for it. And I'm excited for it. I've already had a couple emails from neighbors and stuff, so I'm looking forward to some guidance centrally of how we can best use our feedback and make sure that people are heard and not just kind of put to the side, because it's going to be a lot of different things for different people. So, but that's it. I'm not really looking to change anything about the budget or nothing. So I think it's pretty interesting to see what happens. I'm pretty sure the state will come through in the last week of May because there's because they have the time, but also there's a lot of bills that the governor had moved along because it got a number of state revenue, and so it's just kind of like if you're watching at home or if you care enough about how your tax dollars are used. We're all kind of hard pressed here locally, like what's happening and how we're gonna get more money. It's gonna be hard to pull $1 million back out if the Senate budget does come through. But we're, I think that's the thought is from my perspective at work, but also with conversations from other people who aren't me. They suggest that that's probably the best time because they're done with all the governor's amendments to bills, and they can actually look at okay, here's what we have to do as a state for the next year, and then of course the biennium. So it takes a bit more planning than just agreeing on some stuff in January. And of course, as every day you wait, the more money Virginia accrues. So that's kind of sad, but here we are. Thank you, Madam Chair.
As long as that more money lands in our coffers.
Hey, goes in a lot of places.
No. A lot of has already been covered, but I'll say what I loved at the JBB visit, they were helping, I think it was the third graders, learn cups, pints, quarts, and gallons, and it was very cool to see how they put in the G and all these. It was very cool. I struggled with that most of my academic life, and still I'm good on cups. When you start getting pints and a gallon, and I lose it. But it was very cool to see how you do the hands-on in addition to just learning something from the screen. I also went to Norge's Field Day, and what was wonderful to see is that we've taken up a lot of their field. We took up all their field space to build the new pre-K center. And the last time I went to that field day, it was sprawling. And to see Coach Patrick being creative, and he still had 42 stations in this compressed space, and the kids were having the best time. And so just to love the adaptability of our staff we're still going to have a great field day, even if we have to do it in a way that's a little bit different. So that was really wonderful to go and see. I was able to attend the James Moore Middle School band concert last night, and what I think kind of 3 things that stood out. One is there was a 6th grader that made, I think, all district band, which is something that they don't help those kids prep for in 6th grade. They help in 7th and 8th. And so this student on his own went and learned how to do the audition skills and was successful. So shout out to Carter for that. Also, that we had a student teacher. I think it was the first time we had a music student teacher in a long time or ever. And so to see that teacher get the opportunity to actually lead a couple of the pieces, and one for each grade level, to really see that in action. And it was May the 4th be with you. So they ended with Star Wars, and it sounded like Star Wars. It was amazing. So when you see the progression from elementary school to our middle school and then onto our high schoolers, I love that we continue to invest in the arts. It's AAPI Heritage Month, and so that's really important for us to acknowledge and for all of our students. to learn about other cultures. And I'll say the two last things. One is that we do have, there's lots of things that happen in our schools when the school bell ends. And so we rent out our facilities. And so I happen to be on the other end of going to volleyball tournaments. And our custodians are there 6 o'clock in the morning to open the buildings and there till 9 o'clock at night when we finish that last volleyball game. And when I was actually talking to, I was covering James Blair, so I was talking to CT, and I think what he said just encapsulates the attitude of our custodians. He said, we have guests in our home. And so when we have guests, we have to make sure that our school is sparkling, and that is what they see. And so I saw that at Blair, we were at JBB, and also at Hornsby, and you could see that same care and pride, and they were so helpful. So just acknowledge of our custodial staff that they do so much behind the scenes that we don't get to see, but they are there and deeply caring for our buildings. And lastly, there was a simulation that was sponsored by, called A Day in Their Shoes, and was sponsored by the Community Action Agency, as well as the Virginia Cooperative Extension, and it was hosted at the rec center. And I would just say to the community, if you have the opportunity to do this, it is one of the most impactful things that you will go through as a human being. And I think it was really important that we had a number of people from our building leadership as well as our central office staff went and participated in it. Pat Dent and I had a special relationship during that simulation, but it was really amazing it's a simulation, and I felt the stress of poverty in that. I was a 17-year-old dropout student. I was trying to get a job. It was really, really difficult. I didn't have a lot of options. And so just the hopelessness that I felt in this simulation and watching my neighbors lose their homes, watching my mother struggle to be able to care for us, and just the different scenarios. And so I think, a lot of times we approach the work that we do from a middle class perspective, because even if maybe you didn't grow up with money, a lot of times by the time we're sitting in these seats as elected or appointed officials, you have gotten to at least a middle class status. And so sometimes we forget what it is like in the day-to-day struggles, or for when we didn't have money to today, it's a very different landscape that people are navigating. And so for me to think about how does that impact the kids in our schools and all the things that they need, some of them to navigate just to get to our door in the morning. And so how do we think about that as we think about literacy, and we think about math, and we think about after school, we think about, SHIP, and do we have the busing to get kids from to and fro? If we're trying to do supports for after school tutoring, well, if your parent can't come and pick you up, how do you do that? And I think one thing that was even more that stood out is even something so simple as your kid is sick and you need to go pick them up from school. Right. And so it might be the struggles like, how do I get off work? What if I don't have transportation? How do I get myself there? Our bus system, like that could take 2 or 3 hours on the bus with a sick child. So it's just simple things that we take for granted that our parents and our families and our caregivers are navigating, as well as our students. So I would encourage that, and I would love if the board had an opportunity for us to have some more education about what is it like for our McKinney-Vento students, like what's a day in the life like, and for us to just, the next time this comes up, try to make ourselves available to attend.
Madam Chair, you forgot to tell how you helped your mother out. The best part.
I may have robbed a few people.
So that she could pay for her siblings' copay.
Yep.
I thought that was
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I might have robbed Kate Slevin.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. But it really, and part of my character was that I was involved in criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think but I didn't feel bad about it because I understood what I had to try to navigate for my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just very eye opening. So. Thank you for allowing some of the school division to also go. I think it was really important. With that, we will land this plane because we are at 7:30 and it has been 4 hours.
Wow. As long as it took me to get to Norfolk.
We started at 3:30. 4. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Item 10.01, upcoming events, Career Ready Advisory Committee. May 13th at 3:30 p.m. in room 300 in the annex of the school board and central office. Special Education Advisory Committee, May 13th at 5 p.m., room 108, the school board and central office. Policy Committee, May 22nd at 8:30 a.m., room 203 in the school board and central office. Our upcoming meetings, closed session, May 19th at 6 p.m. in room 200 in Berkeley Middle School. Our regular meeting on May 19th at 6:30 p.m., Berkeley Middle School Auditorium. Closed session, June 2nd, starting at 3:30 p.m. in room 300 at the annex at the school board and central office. And work session and action items, June 2nd at 4:30 p.m., room 300 in the annex at the school board. Our agenda items are set for our next regular meeting, and we are adjourned at 7:31 p.m.